All right, what's
Hey,
up
hey.
here? So we are here in the Vegan World server on Discord, and we're going to be doing some street epistemology and teaching people what street epistemology is, how to do it, why it's beneficial, how it might be different than our typical form of activism, like debates and stuff like that, and even just polite outreach. This is quite different because street epistemology is like an interview where one person is only asking questions of the other person, and it's in a polite form, like from a neutral perspective, just asking questions to help the person, challenge them to understand what they believe, why they believe it, and if they have good reasons for believing it's true or not. To kind of just question the methods that people are using to arrive at the conclusions. And but again, it's to be done. The interviewer is to be so neutral in their approach that the person being interviewed can't really tell what the interviewer's position on the issue is. And the question can be, it can be an issue like a claim about like gun control is good or gun control is bad or a god exists or no gods exist, or veganism is morally right, or slaughter is animal cruelty, or milk increases the risk of cancer, or so think of what you guys might, in the audience, think of what you might want to talk about. It could be about vegan stuff or not vegan stuff. It could be about activism, different forms of activism. We had somebody come up, Nick Leiston I think came up last time and talked about different forms of activism. And so, yeah, just think about it. And if you want to ask questions, you can also come up and we can answer some questions. But you might want to see how this plays out for a while. We might do street epistemology on each other real quick to give an example of what it looks like. But we'll try to then pull people up on to the stage from the audience and run street epistemology on them for like 10 minutes or so, and then move on to another person. Does that sound good with Pierce and Matt?
Sounds good to me.
Great.
Okay, cool. So I don't know if so Matt, you're pretty good at running street epistemology, right? You've interviewed people before.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with good.
Dude's a whiz.
Decent,
Come on.
decent enough. All right. And so is that something you would be interested in doing today, running SE? Because I can do it pretty good, but I kind of have to follow the script, which we can also post in the chat. If that hasn't been done already, I'll try to do that. But yeah, Matt, is that something you wanted to do, or did you come with a claim that you wanted Pierce to evaluate?
No, just yeah, just I'm definitely down to run some SE.
Okay, sweet. All right, cool. So let's see. I was thinking, let's see. It looks like we've got one person with their hand up, but maybe we can start with me with a claim. Unless Pierce, did you have a claim that you want Matt to interview you on, or
I got nothing right now.
okay. Well, I was thinking of, something that we could do quick like we did last time. I think I had done milk increases the risk of cancer.
Mhm.
I can do eggs increase the risk of cancer.
Okay, sure. Who would you like to do the SE? Would you like Matt or myself?
Um, it's up to you guys. What do you think? I think you did it on me last time with the milk increases the risk of cancer claim. So it might be cool if Matt does it.
Sure.
If that's cool with Matt.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure if Matt and I have done an SE with each other before, but I've sure seen you around.
I don't know if we've ever funny enough, I think the first time we ever talked, we talked about backyard chicken eggs for like 3 hours into the
Oh,
night.
dang.
I don't remember.
Wow. It was probably more of an ethical conversation as opposed to health.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Well, then this should be a bit of a different approach at least. So hopefully we don't bore you with the same topic.
Not at all. Cool.
So I guess so let me just make sure that the audience knows again that this is not intended to be a debate, and that it's intended to be so polite that like you might think, why isn't the interviewer pushing back harder? Because we come from like a debate area here in this server where we're like, really throwing our facts and figures out there. But remember, the interviewer is only allowed to ask questions in street epistemology, and they're not supposed to really be giving away what their viewpoint is, but it's a polite way to challenge me, who's being interviewed, about my beliefs and if I have good reasons for holding this belief.
Any day.
Yeah, so go ahead, Matt, if you're ready.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right. Eggs increase the risk of cancer? Is that the claim?
Yeah, that's the claim.
Okay. Is there anything you want to elaborate on that? It seems pretty straightforward, but give you the
Yeah, perhaps.
opportunity anyway.
I think that sums it up.
Okay. Can I get an idea of your current level of confidence that this is the case?
Yeah, I'd say let's go with 95% out of 100.
95. And then what's the biggest reason that's getting you to that 95?
These scientific studies that I've seen, the peer-reviewed literature on the issue. I guess one thing I should clarify is that it can, depend on how much, because if you eat one egg per year, you're probably not going to get cancer from that, right? But it's about a high egg intake. So maybe I should rephrase the claim to make it a little bit more clear. Or should that just or should that just be part of the process of evaluating that claim?
Yeah. We can make it part of the claim just to make it easier.
Okay,
So just
cool.
high egg consumption increases the risk of cancer.
Yeah, I think that's a
Okay.
safer bet. Yeah. And it might be even, moderate or average level of egg intake, whatever that may be, depending on what area people are in, but it might be less than high egg intake. But let's go with high egg intake just to be on the safe side right now. That way there's less
Okay.
pressure on me.
For sure. Okay. And the biggest reason you cited was you've observed some studies that seem to come to this conclusion that eating a lot of eggs will increase the risk you get of cancer.
Yeah, that's right. And I can post those. Like I'll just share 4 of them in the chat. Not that we can like dive deep into these studies right here and now. We don't have the time and all, but I want you and the audience to just be able to see that I can back up my claims with the science, and so that everybody can check these out later on if they like. But it'll just take me about 45 seconds, I think, to read the quick summation of each of them total. So if I can do that real quick, is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So this will just take less than a minute. So from the first one, so this is from PubMed. Egg consumption was associated with increased breast cancer risk among the European, Asian, and postmenopausal population, and those who consumed greater than 2 eggs, or sorry, greater than 2 but less than 5 eggs per week. So between 2 to 5 eggs per week. I want to make sure I'm reading that correctly. Okay. So that's not much, right? And then next one is men who consumed 2.5 or more eggs per week had an 81% increased risk of lethal prostate cancer compared with men who consumed less than half an egg per week. And then the third one, we found an association between higher intake of eggs and increased risk of several cancers: oral cavity and pharynx, upper aerodigestive tract, colorectum, lung, breast, prostate, bladder, and all cancer sites combined. And then the last one, high egg intake was associated with a significantly increased risk of ovarian cancer.
Cool. Let me see. Are there any studies that you are aware of that come to different conclusions about this?
That's a great question. So I've done a whole bunch of research on all of this, like animal products and plant-based products, and what kind of diseases or health outcomes there can be. But I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist or a dietitian, and in fact, I'm pretty stupid at science. So I'm doing the best I can. But and I compiled a list of like 230 different links to different studies or meta-analyses and all kinds of peer-reviewed literature on the subject. And so it's hard for me to remember everything, and I haven't read all of the details of all of these studies, but the conclusions and the results and the methodologies and stuff like that. And I'm down to remove from this list any studies that or links that shouldn't be there, if that's the case, if these are like low quality studies or if there's something really flawed with it. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not sure. Repeat your question for me again.
Yeah,
I remember the question was like, are there counter studies about, like, saying maybe that eggs don't cause cancer, or that eggs prevent cancer even. So I'm not sure, because I can't remember, like, because I did, I don't think that I came across those, but they might be out there. And if anybody wants to send them to me or post them in the chat, a good way to look up studies real quick is to do like a Google search of, say, for in this case, what we're looking for is, and somebody can do this in the chat for me, is, do eggs cause cancer, or eggs and cancer, or do eggs prevent cancer? But at the end of whatever phrase you put PubMed, and then that will narrow your Google search to only those peer-reviewed studies that are on the PubMed website there. So yeah, not sure.
so it sounds like you're concerned with the methodologies that they use to come to their conclusions. And if you discovered some different studies, like you said, that maybe suggested that you could prevent your risk of cancer with egg consumption, moderate to high egg consumption, would that lower your 95 confidence?
Yes, it would, because I would have to, I try to proportion my belief in accordance with the data. So if there were an equal amount of studies or links like what I produced, like, so I put 4 links out there. If somebody can give me 4 links to counter studies that are of equal, or that, let's say, first of all, that are of equal methodology, that are just as strong of a study as what I've presented, then that would and they had 4 of them, like I have 4, then that would neutralize my position, and I wouldn't hold this view anymore. I would just be agnostic as to whether or not eggs increase the risk of cancer. But if I see, just one counter study, and it's only like one small study of like a population of just 10 people versus my 4 studies, and if they had hypothetically a population of 1 million people, right? Then you want to just balance it appropriately, right? But I will put in the chat that document that I was talking about of 200 vegan health sources, so that people can check that out. It's a great document to have on hand and go through.
Perfect. So it sounds like you already sort of outlined this, but what makes, in your opinion, what makes these studies a good reason to get to 95%?
Yeah, so it seems that, though, that it's maybe I can post in the chat. I'm sorry, I don't mean to like distract from the conversation by posting so much in the chat. It's just really
You're fine.
important that people have this information, because, and it took, like, I didn't learn this stuff until my late 30s, a lot of this stuff. So I want to get the word out there. But like the hierarchy of scientific evidence, for example, unless somebody can post it in the chat before me, I'm going to post this little graph. so that people can see what kind of things we want to rely on when it comes to evidence, and what kind of things we should ignore, that don't qualify as good scientific evidence. So here we go. Got it. And post.
I know you mentioned sound methodologies and sample size.
Yeah. So, and you and other people in the chat can also educate me more on this stuff, because I'm still learning. But so I just posted the hierarchy of scientific evidence. So this is like a pyramid for anybody who can't see it, and at the bottom of the pyramid is like the lowest form of evidence, right, which is case reports or opinion papers and letters. Above that is like animal trials and in vitro studies. Above that is cross-sectional studies. Above that is case control studies. Above that is cohort studies are even stronger. Randomized control trials are even stronger than that. And at the top is a meta-analysis and systemic review of ideally a meta-analysis of strong studies like those randomized control trials and cohort studies and things like that, as opposed to a meta-analysis of weaker studies like case reports. But yeah, and then things that don't qualify as evidence are things on the other side of that graph are things like YouTube videos and personal anecdotes or little stories or gut feelings, parental instincts, some guy websites like InfoWars and stuff like that. So it's just good to know that this peer-reviewed scientific literature is what you want to look for, and then some, and the more the better.
Perfect. Yeah, gotcha. Hypothetically speaking, let's say Pierce joins in the conversation and he says, I've found 4 peer-reviewed studies on PubMed that seem to suggest the opposite of what you're saying. And Pierce says, I'm about 95% confident that eggs actually prevent the risk of cancer. Do you think that, what do you think of Pierce's confidence in this case? Do you think it's too high? Do you think that's the right level? Too low?
He might be, well, first of all, I think me and Pierce will just have to fight it out, but I'm gonna lose because he's scary. Big, strong guy. But I think that maybe, upon reflection, because as I admitted, I'm stupid at science and I could be, misinterpreting the data, and I only brought four sources. All right. I also have lists of some sources about, eggs and heart disease and stuff, but that's on the shelf right now. But had I come with, 10 or 20 studies, that would have been cool, or links to those studies. Because remember, some of these, I can't even remember because I haven't looked at them in a while, but some of these, links might not just be one study. It might be a meta-analysis of 20 different studies or 100 studies, so I need to look more closely at it. I came a little bit unprepared for specifically this claim, so I think I should maybe decrease my confidence level from 95% down a little bit, maybe to at least let's say 90%, because I can't remember if there were counter studies that I came across, or why I dismissed them if I did come across them, or because I didn't make a list of as many pro animal products for your health list. I didn't come up with a counter list, right? Because I haven't had time, and you start somewhere, but part of this, the document that I've provided, does not it's only has it only has documents or links that are in favor of the proposition that I'm putting forward, but there's 230 of them. You know what I mean?
So it's a pretty
Not-
big, pretty big number.
Not for eggs, though. Not just for eggs, to be clear.
Oh,
I only
gotcha.
had, yeah, not just for eggs.
Oh.
That's for all meat, dairy, eggs, and how it affects heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, all kinds of stuff, and how a plant-based diet is nutritionally adequate for kids and for pregnant mothers and for athletes and the elderly and like just all kinds of research in that document. But it doesn't have, there are some studies out there that'll say things that seem to be outweighed by the other evidence. So but it would be good if we had an actual dietitian in here to explain this better than I could. But I'm doing what I can.
No, you did great, man. I don't think I have many more. I have like some really weird, nitpicky, strange questions that might not be that important, but maybe just for the last one here.
Okay.
Is there any part of you that wants this claim to be true, that eggs increase the risk of cancer?
That's a great question. Again, on the one hand, I don't want, like, I care about human health, and so I don't want people to be getting cancer from eating eggs. But on the other hand, I'm an animal rights activist who's trying to get people to stop eating eggs because eating eggs leads to, buying eggs leads to extreme animal cruelty. They're killed when they're very young. They're kept in cages or they're kept in one barn with a whole bunch of other birds where they're just driven insane. Kind of like if you were trapped in an elevator with 10 people for 3 months, you'd lose your mind in there. You know what I mean? And so because I care about those birds, I want people to understand the negative health effects of eating these eggs. So it's a hard question to answer in that sense.
Yeah. Just you, so yeah, whether or not you are, do you think that there's any part of that that is impacting your confidence? Or does all of your 90 to 95% confidence come from the studies and just the studies?
Yeah, I think that like my confidence that eggs increase the risk of cancer is based solely, I think, on the empirical data behind it, the scientific literature on it, not my emotions about animals. But my emotions about animals is the main thing driving me to talk about the eggs negative health impact on people. Um, because I feel like you can do what you want, you can eat whatever you want and give yourself cancer if you want, so long as you're not hurting anybody else. But I feel like with eggs, and other animal products, you're hurting the animals in the process, and so that's where I draw the line. Um, yeah.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah. I don't want to take up any more time. That's quite a
Okay,
lot.
cool. Yeah,
But,
yeah, we covered a
thank
lot
you.
there. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you have really great questions. I thought that was really smart. I don't know what your position is. I doubt the audience would know exactly what your position is. We may not want to talk about, like, sometimes after an SE conversation, after street epistemology, the person who was interviewed is given the opportunity to ask, well, what do you think, Matt, about this issue? And we could dive into it, but again, it might take up a bit of time. It looks like we only have like one person with their hand up right now, though. But let me remind people that if you want to come up on stage, you're welcome to do so. What we're going to do is run street epistemology on you. And again, what that is not a debate. It's just where the interviewer only asks questions of the person being interviewed, and from a polite, neutral position, just trying to help the person who's being interviewed to understand what they believe, why they believe it, and if the reasons they have for believing it are good reasons or not. And so yeah,
And
so if anybody wants to make a claim such as, it can be about any political or religious issue, it could be about veganism, about moral stuff, it could be, gun control is good or gun control is bad, God exists or gods don't exist, or whatever you want.
And I do also want to remind everybody that I am live streaming it, but there's actually more people in this room than that are watching it. There's only one person watching it, so it's probably not that
Oh,
big of a
okay.
deal. But
Well, your channel will grow and grow because you guys are really good at this, and it's a fun time.
thank you. All right, why don't we bring James up? He's been heavy. He had his hand up like the whole time here, so he must really want to come up.
Okay, cool. Just be ready to kick people off the stage if they're crazy trolls or something, because that will happen sometimes. So it looks like James got the invite, and unless there's a glitch,
And it might
Sometimes,
be a glitch. He says it's not letting me.
oh, that's a bummer. So what I would recommend, James, is restart your Discord or even restart your whole phone or computer and join us again and raise your hand, and hopefully it'll work that time.
All right, I'm gonna invite
And
the
in the
next while James does his thing, and we'll get James next then.
okay, cool.
Hello. Hello, gentlemen.
What's up?
Hello, Clincoin. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I do love street epistemology. I think it is such a good tool of like approaching justification for belief. And like, notice how I say approaching. I don't think it's we're ever going to reach that via street epistemology, but I think it's a good like self-reflection activity. So if somebody's offering up like free street epistemology, I'm all down because like you pay people for this shit, right? So this sounds like a good time in my head.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
So
yeah, do you so maybe we can let Pierce go this time and run SE on you. Clincoin, do you have a specific claim in mind?
I mean, I have several claims in mind, but if how can I say this? If you guys want me to talk about veganism,
Yeah.
granted this is like your event and all that,
Mhm.
I'm fine with that. Although it's not the thing I'm personally the most interested in.
Okay.
Because yeah, because remind me, Clincoin, you're not a vegan, right? You're just in the server for whatever reason, but you're here, and that's
Well,
cool. We're
I
glad
like
to have
debating
you.
and talking with people. But I'm not a philosophical vegan, and I don't think that there is sufficient reason to say that animal suffering is impermissible. And I'm not just doing that via some sort of also, by the way, meta level. I hate having to say like, oh, it's not some sort of like, and then one example. I want my claims to be more like general than that. But there's a common misconception that I just wish to nib in the bud immediately. So it's not just something I say out of, oh, well, moral permissibility is like, well, insert any value here. I'm saying that I think in particular animals should not be engaged with on the level of what's the closest to like sentience granting. And for me, the discussion is about the granting of sentience, the granting of moral value. Whilst I do simultaneously, for the record, advocate for a lot of like animal farming reducing policies and things because of other reasons, right? So
Okay.
if you want to like press me on veganism, the conversation would need to go down that route. And I don't think that's necessarily easy for epistemology because it's not really like an epistemological claim. It's more so like a practicality thing.
I kind of want to try it. Like, I think that the claim that I heard, and we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but you said animal suffering is not impermissible. And I think that might be a great conversation for this event in the server. So if you want to talk about that, it'd be awesome.
If you're
sure,
interested.
I'm down.
We don't want to force it on you, though. We don't want to force it on you, of course.
No, absolutely, force it on me. Like people that have beliefs should sort of be forced to justify them, and even if, like, especially if they don't want to. Not that I don't think you should sea lion people either, but you get the point.
Yeah. Okay, well, cool. Well, before Pierce gets started, I just want to make sure that the audience knows that I'm going to post in the chat a little cheat sheet about how to do street epistemology. So you can kind of follow along and see, Pierce may and Matt and me, whenever we do street epistemology on somebody, there's going to be different approaches that different people, interviewers will use, so it's not necessarily going to follow this script exactly, but you can kind of see, like the first step is to kind of build rapport, to make sure we're on the same page, having a good time, and that the conversation is going to flow smoothly from there, and try to maintain that rapport throughout the whole thing, so that it keeps defenses low. Because again, this is not a debate. This is just one person only asking questions to challenge the other person politely about what they believe, why they believe it, and if they have good reasons for believing it or not. So go ahead and take it away, Pierce and Clincoin.
All right. Clincoin, am I pronouncing that right?
You are. Hi.
Cool. All right. So I'd just like to kind of get some clarification. So I think I have an idea of what you mean by animal suffering, but what do you mean by impermissible?
I think that's tied to the morally claim. So I just think whatever system of morality one would position this discussion within, I would just say it is fairly universally not a position that should be held within any moral system. And like permissible entails that there is some like gradient you could put this suffering on. And I say that this gradient is how to say it's impossible to find a particular point on it, and that to be engaged in this gradient itself of where the line should be drawn or not is not a discussion that should be happening within any moral framework.
Okay. So within any moral framework, you should not be discussing what is acceptable for animal suffering. Is that what I'm hearing? Am I hearing that right?
No, I think
Okay.
the like when you can find a true gradient, on like one seemingly like monolithic spectrum, say it could be the suffering of an individual, or it could be the suffering of some category that we presume to be similar or one thing. Like say animals, one category, right? Like one categorical notion.
Okay.
I don't think engaging in such a gradient based, like where on this scale does the moral relevancy start, type of discussion is useful. So therefore I say it's not impermissible. But those are, I realize, not connected statements. So the discussion should probably like move on to that other thing.
Okay. What is that other thing?
Yeah, what I just said.
Okay.
The permissibility claim is, at least in my head, detached from my justification for it. So it's more so like an underlying principle
Okay.
of mine that's emerging here.
Okay. I guess let's maybe we can even talk about what you think about animal suffering. Like what maybe that's the right question here. What is your
Sure.
stance on animal suffering? What do you think about it?
Well, to dive into that, I think there are a few components to talk about. I'm not going to go into any distinction between like animals, at least not yet. I think that's the last distinction to go into, but it
Okay.
should be gone into. I think suffering, which is relevant, is more like suffering as relevant to animal is more useful, I suppose, because I see it from like an individual, like egoistic approach to morals. So when say an animal feels pain, say it's me, then I would say that serves as like a messenger signal that's like pre-coded in me to be given under certain circumstances, right? Like I can think of a scenario in which that pain or signal is, why yes, causing a reaction in me, but it's not how to say only pain, right? It's contextualized. So if I were to like say stab a needle in my finger and win $1 million, then that pain would be what I would be feeling, but it's not the entire context.
Okay.
And I don't think that that needle stab is, or the reward for the needle stab is separable from the pain itself. Like we can talk about the pain in an isolated manner, but I don't think we can philosophically talk about the pain in an isolated manner.
Okay.
when we're talking about this question of morality context.
Okay. So I think what you're kind of saying is you can talk about this particular suffering or pain and very isolated, and you can say, okay, that that is pain, and might be suffering, but in an overall context, it's a little bit more difficult to say whether it's good, bad, or something else, because there's a lot of other factors.
Yes.
Okay.
There's this book out there called Ender's Game, right? And in this book, there's an alien species that's called the Hive Queen, where basically their central nervous system is the closest thing to like a humanly conceived individual that we can have.
Okay.
And the Hive Queen has drones, and the drones function like limbs, so to say, for us, but they are separated entities. And to the Hive Queen herself, their pain is felt, but it's not a pain response, right? It's more like this this limb no longer works, even though that's like a similar thing to like what our pain system is telling us. Ours seems to cause us great discomfort, whereas to the Hive Queen, it is a more detached, informative approach. And
Okay.
I don't think it necessarily is useful to view pain, as in the physical response, only as the suffering it brings to a lot of the beings that we would be talking about.
Okay.
I see it also as this messenger signal. So I think it's like possible to separate these two, and I understand that the discussion typically goes towards like, well, the individual feels the pain response, and I'm just going to bite the bullet, right? I'm just going to say, yes, they do. But that's not the morally relevant thing for me, at least.
Okay. Not the morally relevant. What is the morally relevant part is like the whole situation, if I'm understanding correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
The contextualization, like how it is for the Hive Queen to understand that this limb no longer works, or that this is being impaired, or there is something wrong in this general area.
Okay. You mind if I try to ask you a question on how this connects? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Does this connect to veganism at all? Is there a connection here? Does this affect how you behave?
Well, we started out with me asking if this could be somehow relevant to veganism, right? Personally, like, I'm not sure how this like connects to veganism, because it's not a vegan stance, but I think it intersects with some vegan arguments.
Sure. I guess you were right when you said that this was going to be something difficult to SE. I'm going to ask Matt and Chase. Is there something a direction I should go with this that you guys would suggest?
I don't know. Any thoughts, Matt? I'm looking at the cheat sheet right now. I think so far you've done a great job. Let me ask Matt if he has any thoughts of where to go right now. Any questions to ask?
Something like, is there a way we could formulate this into a claim? This notion?
We would have to establish more definitions for that, like more distinct definitions. I see there's a user called Bimmy in chat that has made a distinction between pain and suffering, wherein suffering is dealing with individualized goals and the loss of achieving those. That's me summarizing it, but basically goes beyond the experience of pain. It encompasses the overall state of distress, anguish, or hardship that someone may endure. Often includes a combination of physical pain, emotional turmoil, and a sense of struggling or enduring through difficult circumstances, which I would say are all goal-oriented statements of loss.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess technically those two different definitions are a definitional claim, but I don't know. I don't know how to SE a definitional claim. I just will accept it as your definition and move on. That's
No, I'm
kind of
not. I'm
my
not
thing.
stating it as a definition. I'm saying that this is like a possible way to distinguish things.
Okay.
But again, because my position is one of detaching, say, different aspects of what is often referenced to merely as suffering or pain in the vegan discussion, and that I hold different positions for different what I consider subtexts of suffering, means that in order to engage with that, either I have to define these terms, which I feel like I have so far with the awareness of dysfunction versus the physical pain. We could go deeper and we could talk about moral systems related to how individuals might have goals or even what's the word? Like, God, what's the word? There's refer Chase. You know what it is? It's a philosophical word Cypher always uses.
I'm not sure.
Teleological. That's the
Oh, there
word. Teleological
Well,
aspect.
yeah, I'm not sure, like, because we're trying to keep these to about 10 minutes each, because there might be other people who want to do
shit!
it.
No, maybe we
So,
should have done circumcision then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, probably should have.
nice.
You know, how about we come back to if there's no more volunteers, and then we can do
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
that's
could
a
do
great
that.
great point. Yeah, so stick around because this is probably going to be going on for an
I had
hour or
no
two.
idea. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
No, yeah, go get someone else up here.
No, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. I might have forgot to mention that. We had mentioned it at the very beginning, but I forgot to refresh everybody on that. And there's new people that joined, so don't worry about it. But I guess what I just want to say, like, is I'm looking at the cheat sheet of how to do street epistemology, and I thought that Pierce did really well. Because we're really trying to evaluate the interviewer to see if they're following kind of the guidelines. And I thought that Pierce did really well at building rapport and maintaining rapport. So it kept it from escalating into a debate or something, a yelling match, because that's what we're just trying to avoid with street epistemology. Not that I'm totally against debates. I love me a good debate, and a protest. But nevertheless, this is not what we're doing right now. And the cool thing about street epistemology and why I'm bringing this up here is that we as vegan activists, not everybody in here is a vegan activist. I'm not sure exactly where Pierce and Matt stand on all this stuff, and CleanCoin is not a vegan, but we're having these discussions. But like, it's for the vegans in the audience, learning street epistemology can be a really great tool for your activism, even if you don't do street epistemology 100% in your activism. Even if during a debate you use an aspect of street epistemology, like building rapport, so as to de-escalate the debate. If it's getting too crazy and you want to calm things down, you can use some of these tactics in street epistemology. Or just, if you focus on what kind of questions Matt and Pierce have asked so far, these are really smart questions that help people reflect on their beliefs. And when Matt was asking me some tough questions, he actually got me to decrease my confidence from 95% to 90%. But I thought Pierce did really well here with clarifying words and repeating back what CleanCoin was saying to him, and making sure that he understood CleanCoin and gaining clarity if needed. And CleanCoin seemed to be appreciative of that. Felt like he was being respected, that Pierce was not putting words in his mouth, and was making sure he wasn't misrepresenting CleanCoin's position, even though it was kind of tough to understand exactly what we were talking about at some points. But yeah, so okay, cool. So Matt, Pierce, anything to say right now before we move on to somebody else?
Let's move on. Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay,
we got
cool.
Nick.
So,
Trying to bring Nick up here.
Yeah, let's do it.
And if you have your hand up, be sure to keep it up, because otherwise, we won't see your hand up anymore. Just FYI.
And
he can't accept. Great.
dang. Man.
I'll try restarting, Nicholas, and we will go from there.
Yeah, we had that problem with somebody else earlier. So try to restart your Discord or even your whole phone or computer and then join us again, and hopefully it'll work that time. But other people in the audience, if you want to get up here, your claim can be anything. It could be about veganism, like you could claim that meat is murder, or that milk is murder, or that the plant-based diet would be better for the environment, or better for your health, or that gun control is good or gun control is bad, or a God exists or a God doesn't exist, or whatever comes to your mind.
Or I'll throw one other option out there. You won't even have to tell if it's me, and I'm sure Matt would be willing to accept this as well. You won't have to say the claim. If you don't want to reveal the claim, if it's like something that's touchy and you want to explore it, but you don't want to reveal it to everybody, you don't have to tell us.
That'd be called the hidden claim. Hidden claim. Yeah, that's kind of a tricky one. It's interesting.
It's fun.
But let's see. Well, I mean, if we can't get Nicholas up here, Nicholas, can you restart your Discord and see if that'll work? Because we can't seem to bring you up here. But in the meantime, if nobody else is coming up, then maybe we should get ClinCoin back up here. And maybe, I don't know if you guys want to like keep discussing the same claim, or if ClinCoin wants to make a different claim that's not related to veganism, that's maybe something ClinCoin is more interested in talking about. That would be a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I think he mentioned circumcision, was it?
I did, yeah.
That would be cool. I'd like to hear it.
You mind if I talk to him a second time, Matt? Okay. Cool.
I like Matt. If Matt wants to like butt in, I feel like Matt should butt in if he has a really good question to ask.
Cool.
So I just want to also preface this that like people can follow my thoughts on this if they wish to on a website, because I've already set up this discussion on a website. Hold on, let me find it. There we go. I'll post it in chat. It's a Kylo discussion, so it has this like nice tree of claims, so it's easy to follow. So the main claim that I hold is that circumcision, when it's non-consensual and also done for non-medicinal reasons, should be prohibited. So that's the alt claim. I want circumcision under these circumstances to be prohibited by law.
Okay, cool. So circumcision, I'm assuming you mean like male circumcision?
I'm actually saying all circumcision.
All circumcision.
So,
fair enough. Gotcha. All circumcision, whether male or female, should be prohibited by law, meaning made illegal.
Yes, it should be a legal
procedure.
Change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, and why do you believe that this is the case?
Right. Into the arguments. I have a few arguments. Do you want me to list all of them, or do you want me to list one and then go into it?
I would like you to let me know the main one, the one that's most important. That perhaps one that if it didn't exist, you may change your confidence.
Right. So the thing most likely to convince me would be if there were actual like medicinal reasons, but that's again going to get into like an empirical debate, and I think those might be harder to follow. But yeah, like if there was medicinal evidence that, in my view, wasn't biased towards like favoring circumcision, then I would change my mind. Like, say if it 100% prevented like all forms of cancer, or it reduced like sudden infant death syndrome by like 100%, which is like an unreasonably high standard, but you get my drift. I would need like to have some data on it, and I would need to consider it.
Okay, gotcha. So if it prevented all forms of cancer or reduced infant death, you would change your confidence. Would you be in favor of it then?
No, I would be at least able to consider it. Right,
Okay,
but so far I don't see that evidence.
Okay.
And that's most likely to convince me.
Where
But
is
if
it?
you have like, there are a lot of rights-based arguments that are probably easier to engage.
Well, I just want to talk about whichever reason is most important to you, which gets you to your confidence. That's the one I would like to talk about.
Or it gets me to my confidence. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. No, the thing that gets me the furthest for like why I think this law should be put in place is because of the rights and what these human rights entail for the situation of circumcision. And I think that circumcision is fully protected under human rights, not the procedure itself, but
Yeah.
I think the principles go against circumcision if we were to follow them.
So like human rights, you should have the right to keep all your body parts. That's kind of what you're saying, I think. Correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
like human
No? Okay.
rights. There are like two sets of human rights I consider. It's the Declaration of the Rights of the Child, which give us obligations unto children, and then there's the Declaration of Human Rights, like the universal one, which is a lot of freedoms from. And one of the freedoms from is like arbitrary bodily intervention, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And how confident are you that circumcision should be prohibited by law?
Under the case of these rights,
Just overall, your confidence.
I don't think it's. I don't really like that confidence posting about like how sure are you that this should be a thing, because it's a should claim.
Yeah.
But I would be willing to say I'm like 100% confident that under the guise of consistency, insofar as we have these rights, that this also should be prohibited.
Okay. So it sounds like you're 100% confident, but there is at least something that might get you to consider otherwise.
Yeah, like not a complete ban per se. If like say there's a chance that, well, I suppose that's a linguist. No, no, I fooled myself. There is no case, I guess, in which I would be capable of being convinced, because the main claim itself talks about medicinal benefit, and the thing that could convince me is medicinal benefit. So it's already covered, actually. So with the current claim that I've stated before, there is nothing that can convince me.
Okay. Even like let's take it to like an extreme level. Like it's a fantasy world and anything's possible. Like is there something that if this fantasy world were to become reality, that could possibly change your mind that you could learn in this fantasy world?
Oof, fruit by trees. I mean, this is just a test of my creativity and imagination, isn't it? I think, I mean, there are the obvious utilitarian like trolley problems, wherein you would put like you either circumcise this infant or you, and then like some outcome. And those, I'm not going to go into those, but there's like probably a pretty big array wherein I would like choose to circumcise the infant.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a deontologist, but other than the utility monsters and those kinds of stuffs,
I just mean like broadly, like let's say in this fantasy world that if you're happen to be circumcised by the age of 1 before that, you never have any health problems. Would that change your confidence?
it would make me doubt the position. But doubt doesn't produce my certainty. Insofar as it's like a rights violation, like say it would only reap the benefits if it happened when they couldn't consent, right? Then that's like a position wherein it's like up for debate. But then it also depends on like what kind of risks it incurs. Because if it's like 0.001% risk of like sudden infant death, right? That's the only recourse of not circumcising, whereas in like that risk is entirely removed if you do circumcise, then I think that okay, so it's a full on effect. It's either death, it's not like gradual suffering or increased risk of maybe like catching HIV later in life. It's the kid either dies or they don't.
Yeah.
Then I would say there's like a feasible debate to be had, but that is not the world we live in. And
Right,
I'm not going to
right.
go into like the hypotheticals of that debate. But then I would be like, if we have rights, then yeah, not cool, right? I would take the L and say we shouldn't.
Okay.
We should still not allow it in that scenario.
Is there ever a scenario where something might be done and it might be kind of a human rights violation, but it's okay because it's, I don't know, serves a greater purpose? Maybe. Is there ever that scenario?
Yeah, it's justifying the means. I mean, we're back at the
Mhm.
utilitarian
Yeah.
problems. Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Like, if I could circumcise one kid to avoid circumcising two others,
Okay.
if somebody else were going to like the defensive circumcision,
Yeah.
that's a very clear one, very easy one. But if it comes to like other things that are not related to the circumcision part, I would have to like weigh them against each other. I couldn't like weigh it against a singular unit of circumcision's moral value. And at that point, I believe it's very context based. I'm basically a particularist when it comes to morals. So it seems like it would just like dive into my own proclivities, and it wouldn't necessarily be like an interesting conversation for everyone to engage in. But feel free to like pull me apart.
I'm wondering if these moral ideas this was just stripped away, like you couldn't appeal to that at all, would you still be 100% confident that circumcision should be prohibited by law?
Like, are you talking about the moral rights, or are you talking about my
Yeah.
moral principles?
Yeah, the moral rights, like, just, I know
Oh.
this might be a silly hypothetical, but if you pull that out,
No, it's
Yeah.
not
Okay.
actually. I think that these rights are only like I wouldn't advocate for these rights on like an individual level. Like I wouldn't say if we lived in a society without these rights that we must then enforce these rights. I think these rights gain a lot of their I'm not going to say legitimacy, but their moral value, like the value of following these, is achieved when they are universal. Right? Without these rights being universal, you're still just stuck with violence politics. So when they are universal, they achieve their protection, and the non-violation of these rights becomes relevant. So before that, it's more so like a private moral system type of discussion between individuals that seek to, achieve their goals, at least in my head, from an egoist stance.
Okay. I think it's
Which
been
is
going for 10 minutes at this point.
yeah, cool.
If you want to
Anyone
have
else,
the last
please.
word, I'll let you have the last word. Otherwise, I'll ask for some feedback from Chase and Matt.
Ooh, can I have some feedback?
Sure.
I mean, I've done some street epistemology before. I think when asking about confidence, it should be done about facts, because asking about confidence in like when pertaining to like morality, it forces the other person to like try to ascertain a confidence value for something that might not actually have a confidence value. Like it might be impossible for their position to have a confidence value. I think it's more so pertaining to street epistemology to ask them what makes them sure of that, and to ask them if that is at all possible to change in moral discussions instead of using the confidence heuristic.
It's interesting. I think with me, I could always answer the confidence question regardless. I respect
Yeah,
your
no,
opinion, though. It's
yeah, that's true for some moral systems, just not all of them. There are
Okay.
some moral systems that fully base themselves around confidence. It's like just an innate like engaging tool
interesting.
problem. Cool. I will take my leave, and somebody please come up on stage and talk about something.
Yeah, I'm not sure about what Klinquin said there at the end about the confidence for an ought claim, a normative claim as opposed to a descriptive claim. I'm not sure, but it's worth thinking about. But I thought that rapport was good again, and it seemed like we had more progress, I think, in this claim this time around. So I thought it was cool. Any thoughts from Matt?
I would just echo what you said. Great rapport. I thought you guys went about as deep as you could have.
Cool. So it looks like maybe Nicholas is having a trouble getting on here
Yeah.
again as well.
I invited him back up. Nicholas, if you go up by the hand icon and try clicking up there, and then you might be able to accept, maybe, hopefully. I don't know.
Or the other thing might be like reverse the order of how he put his hand up. Like if he put his hand up first and then Pierce tried to invite him, reverse that order such that Nicholas's hand is down and Pierce invite him, and maybe try that.
Yeah,
But
why don't you try putting your hand down, Nicholas, and I will invite you without having your hand up. Okay, your hand's down. I'm going to invite you. That doesn't seem to have done anything.
okay.
Well, we'll keep trying.
Yeah, Nicholas, put your hand down again, and I'm gonna jump off the stage real quick, and then try to get Nicholas on here real quick.
Okay. I will invite again, see what happens. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Well, that does stink.
Bummer.
Yeah. Sorry
There's
about
no
that, man.
troubleshooting there, but if you can't restart your Discord or your computer or your phone and try again, but that's the only thing I can think of. Unplug it and plug it back in. But it looks like somebody else. Wait a minute, what's this being said in the chat? I have an ethical claim, a claim about physics, and a claim about SE. You may choose if I'm called on. I even said it as juggling lessons. I just have to. You can even choose which one of these things I will do.
You do me well. Thank you. So I'm happy to take claims or make claims. You get to choose.
All right, so everybody, this is Juggling Lessons, otherwise known as Dolly, my good buddy. He's interviewed me a whole bunch of times doing street epistemology on a lot of different claims I've made for veganism and maybe other stuff too, but it's always a good time chatting with him. And so let's see. Looks like we've got nobody with their hand up, but let me just repeat my little summary of street epistemology for anybody who's just joining and to make sure everybody gets it stuck in their head. So, street epistemology is basically, or at least the way I sum it up, and y'all can sum it up in your little version afterwards if you want to as well. But basically, the idea is, let me turn my camera on. There we go. Okay, the idea is not a debate, not a debate. This is a polite thing, a fun, like keep everybody happy, defenses low, no yelling kind of stuff. You know, I like to yell at people, don't get me wrong, but that's just not what we're doing today. It's not what we're doing today. Okay, so anyway, so street epistemology is just a polite conversation, like one person interviewing another person, just challenging them, but nicely, about what they believe, why they believe it, and if they have good reasons for believing it or not. So that's about the gist of it. Anybody else got things to add to that before you move on? Okay,
Let's
cool
do it.
then. So it looks like juggling lessons. What kind of claim would you prefer to talk about? Or
I
what you
have
got?
3 ready, and we were talking about claims that were moral or not, so I made sure to include one of those in case somebody wants a demonstration of a moral ethical claim. I also have a claim about physics, that if you want something that's really just fact-based and all that kind of thing. And let's see, my other one, what was the third one? Oh, yes, I have a claim about street epistemology itself.
Cool. I think maybe we should leave the claim about SE for later. But today hopefully we can still do that because it would be cool. But and maybe we can put the physics on the side for a second.
Sure.
But it would be cool to see you talk about that because you're super smart with physics and mathy stuff, where I am not.
Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, the moral claim, I'd like to see that happen. I don't know about what y'all think, but it might. I don't know who wants to run it, Pierce or Matt. Who wants to interview juggling lessons? And juggling lessons, you might also be able to turn on your camera in here. I'm not sure if you want to.
I think it was just us.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I'd have to dress my set and dress my body and things.
Oh, don't do that.
Okay, so my moral claim is that minors should be able to opt out of their parental control for some things, that they should have more options about things that are choices of their own body earlier than typically is the case by means of reaching to something out in society. Maybe this is judges, maybe this is social workers, maybe depending on what the thing is. Okay, to say, my parents don't want me to do this, and I want to, so I want you to give me the option. Now, these things that I'm talking about I'm going to put together into a category and say, this is if I want to do sports, for example. If I want to do football and my parents don't want me to, or I want to do running and my parents don't want me to. Well, obviously, if the parents have good reasons and running also requires my doctor and I'm not supposed to run, well, the doctor will tell me no, right? So there's a thing there, but I don't want the parents to be the final word on it. And this also includes, and this is where it gets interesting, if a child is, say, at 8 having precocious puberty, I think their parents should not be able to stop them from getting something that would push their puberty back to a normal time frame without anything else.
Okay.
And
So-
then further than that, I want them to be able to delay puberty on their own choice. Because I think the same thing that I said about sports delays puberty, like gymnasts delaying their puberty, that seems to be their option. Same here. So go ahead.
Okay, cool. So I think I understand what you're saying. And if Matt or Pierce need any clarification, they can ask for it. And as they're running SE, whoever does it, or I think it might be cool if we see Matt and Pierce. Usually street epistemology is one person. Yeah, it's usually just one person asking one person stuff, but sometimes it's one person asking multiple people something, as we've seen in Spectrum Street Epistemology, which is a topic for another day. But I don't know. It would just be nice to see, Matt and Pierce with their different styles and different, questions that might come to their minds. Unless Pierce or Matt think it would just be best to do a one-on-one.
What do you think of that idea, Matt? And Ollie?
I like the dog pile. I'm very experienced with this, so I'm not likely to have a rapport crash or get confused by compounding questions. So go for it.
Okay. Matt, you're
Cool.
good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Could you reflect my claim back to me so that I know you got it?
So we got adolescents, kids, and they should be able to make decisions with the guidance of somebody who can give guidance. Like I think you mentioned, like a court or a social worker or something like that. And like an example he gave was playing sports. So if they want to go like play baseball and their parents are like, no, you can't do that. You go there, chat with them. They think it's a good idea. They get the green flag.
Yep.
And then also, if they're having puberty earlier than normal, they should be able to push that back to a normal period. Otherwise, if they want to delay it, they should be able to have that option too. Okay, I got it right?
Yep. Thank you. Yes, cool. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, I'll let Matt jump in with whatever he wants to ask.
Oh, me first?
Sure.
This is funny because Dolly and I actually talked about this last practice session, or it's a claim very similar anyway. So I flip back to my old page
Yeah.
of notes.
Cool.
Did you mention your confidence level? I thought you did.
I didn't hear one.
I didn't state one. I would say that the confidence level in this case is I am 95% sure that the net effect of this change would be better for grandchildren.
The net effect would be beneficial
Yeah, net effect at the level of grandchildren, like
at the level of grandchildren.
a generation out. I am 95% confident that this is a net positive.
Okay. Yeah. What would you say is the biggest reason that gets you up to the 95?
It's the negative reason that I've seen so much child abuse in the sense of like really direct smacking kind of child abuse, the kind of stuff that you just expect to see on the documentary, as well as other kinds of child abuse that aren't so smacking, like withdrawing medical options. There's a lot of child abuse where people don't give their kids proper medical care for what I think are bad reasons, or what I think society would think are bad reasons, and I think that's an abuse. And I think, in this case, I'm not even pretending to get away from gender affirming care here, and say that withholding gender affirming care is a kind of child abuse and hurts people. And I know people personally whom have been hurt by this, so it matters to me.
How could we know if someone was hurt by it or if they were not hurt by it?
Mostly I'm taking their word. That I'm thinking of a specific friend who was unable to get hormone therapy because of parental interference until they were 18, and it has pushed back their desired body several years, caused a lot of physical and emotional suffering for those years. And I don't see that the parents' interests in this case are valid in light of my friend's interests. And so I want my friend to retroactively, and I can't do that, but I would like to vote my friend retroactively had that option. But really all I can do perhaps is to vote that the next generation does.
Okay. If you were to discover that the opposite was actually true, and like that parent's decision actually benefited the child, and the other way would have harmed the child, would
Right.
your confidence kind of like completely flip flop?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I tend to lean in toward freedom when I'm uncertain. And so I would, if it were only even, I'd still be leaning in the side of the minors. If I actually saw that the minors' choice were in the long run or in the overall or on the average causing them more harm by going through this method than letting it be the parents, I'd reverse my position.
Would it still be your opinion that it was child abuse, even though it's leading to a better outcome?
Well, I would have to almost redefine that. Like, for example, forcing your kid to go get braces, is that child abuse? Discuss. Okay. And where you fall on that line comes down to the cost benefit ratio and also maybe the buy-in on the kid. And I think this is of a similar nature, although I think braces are less impactful on a person's social life.
Is there? We kind of talked about if you were to learn, the flip flopping of the harm. Is there anything else that you could learn, or is there anything specific you could learn that would lead you there?
Yeah, there's an odd notion that maybe if I allow these, if I reduce the power of the parent in the child's mind, and I give them a few ways in which they can override the parent, this might empower the child to do something bad for themselves just because they can, and therefore, in some long-term way, do themselves harm. Now, I'm in my ideal situation here. That's not the case, because the way they have to go about it is to convince, say, a professional, an in loco parentis person assigned by society to agree with them. It's not that they just get to choose. So I'm mitigating that. Whereas if it was just to give them the choice, boom, I think that's bad, because I don't think 8 and 12-year-old kids are very good about making long-term decisions for themselves.
Okay.
Without help. With enough help, they're fine.
Sure.
Fifth graders are smart.
Do you imagine any risks with lending power to those other entities that you mentioned, social workers, doctors, things like that?
Absolutely. If those social workers were hired by the CCP, or is it 3Cs, the Chinese government, then I probably wouldn't think very highly of it. I don't like their mode. So in this ideal that I'm presenting, I'm sort of reaching for that high ideal of what would be the best social worker, societal representative person. So yeah, there's obvious potential for abuse. There's also a huge potential for the abuse, checks and balances becoming onerous, which is, I think, the current case. I think the checks and balances are excessively onerous.
What do you think could get you from 95% to, let's say, 97%?
I would like to see a small, let's see, I'm not sure if this is like a longitudinal study, or maybe even it's just an example of a society wherein this is happening, where the results I am predicting come true. I'm right about my predictions and they actually come true in reality. That would raise my confidence.
Gotcha. Would if that were to happen, you were to learn about that, would that become more of your main reason, or would that be like a secondary reason?
Oh, that would definitely reinforce my reason, and I'd have a better example.
Okay.
So in this talk, I'd be coming with that reason as well, and a higher confidence.
Are there any limits to this idea in your mind? Like, should we draw a line anywhere when it comes to the age of the child?
We don't draw a line on, say, the Department of Children's Services declaring that somebody is abusing their child. That there's no get out of jail free because they're younger than X or whatever. Although obviously age appropriate stuff is certainly important in the question. So as far as calling it abuse, no, there's no age limit. As far as the child's choice in the matter, well, I think depending on the choice, you'd have to decide what level of development was necessary for them to have an input to that choice. A 4-year-old telling me that they want to always eat meat or never eat meat or something like that, it's probably a bit premature.
I think that's every question I had. So
I'm gonna do my thing when I run out of questions.
Oh, good.
So we got Alan the alien, and he lands a spaceship, and he wants to know if your claim is true or false. How does he know if your claim is true or false?
In this case, the claim is that my belief that this is a good thing
Mhm.
is high. So the claim is unambiguously true and subjective.
Ah.
Now, whether I am correct, how does he tell? Same
Mhm.
study that I would do. Let's try it and see.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
That's all I got.
So, all right, right. So, notice how it didn't turn into a debate. Everybody yelling and punching each other in the face. Good times. Good job, everybody. Pearson, man, good job. All right. Round of applause. And good job juggling lessons for expounding your views. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'd like to
Yeah.
invite anyone on stage that wants to talk about, I don't know, just about anything. Or we can just have a meta conversation about how to determine truth. That might be fun too.
Yeah, that's true. But it looks like we might have some new people in the audience, so I'm gonna refresh everybody's memory real quick about what street epistemology is. Not a debate, but a nice conversation, a polite interview where somebody's just asking questions of the other person in a challenging way, though, to understand what they believe, why they believe it, and if they have good reasons or not for believing this thing. Because sometimes we believe things and we then upon reflection we realize I don't actually have the best reasons for believing that. It doesn't necessarily mean the thing isn't true. It might be true, but we just don't have the best reasons, and so we can go do more research and find better reasons for believing this true thing. Or it might help us realize, what, the reasons I had for believing this thing was true are so weak that this conversation has got me really doubting this thing being true at all. So in any case, so again, claims, we'll try to keep them to about 10 minutes or so, and it can be about, anything, politics, religion, veganism. So you could do a claim like meat is murder or milk is murder, or, meat is bad for your body or bad for the environment, or that gun control is good, gun control is bad, gods exist, gods don't exist, whatever you feel like talking about. But in the meantime, if nobody raises their hand, juggling lessons had more claims. Something about physics? Dang. But I'd really like to hear what he was talking about with SE, especially since we're trying to teach people SE, street epistemology. It might be cool to examine that claim, whatever it is.
I think I've got a claim too.
Oh boy. What's Pierce's claim?
Well, maybe we could keep it hidden. That might be fun. That might be a fun little experiment.
Oh dang. All
Hidden?
right. What do you guys think is best?
Nope.
I think it'd be cool to, well, unless you want to throw something else in, Pierce.
Maybe it'd be impossible to do it hidden, actually, now that I think about it. It might be
Okay.
very, very difficult.
But it might be cool to see juggling lessons do street epistemology on Pierce with this claim, whatever it is. And then maybe we could bounce back to juggling lessons being interviewed about his SE claim.
Sure.
Does this sound good to
Yeah,
people?
let's do 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there.
Sure. Now, you say impossible in the sense that maybe it would be difficult if I ask reasons to keep the claim hidden. It'll be too obvious.
No, I don't know if I could keep the claim hidden or really talk about it in a good way. But we could try it.
We can try it.
Okay, let's try it.
Hi, Pierce. I'd like to ask you about a claim, but I'm not going to because you're not going to tell me. So I'm just going to ask you questions that beat around the bush, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Do you think this claim is more true or more false?
More true.
Okay. Are you a lot convinced? Do you have a high confidence or a moderate confidence?
Pretty high confidence.
Okay. Is this claim more ethical or more like physical, real? Maybe category.
It's
You can say other if it's the case.
It's kind of like I think it's technically a truth claim.
Okay. Claim about reality.
Yeah.
Very okay. Do you think that the mainstream agrees with you on your claim? If I were to ask 100 people in the room, do you think you'd get a majority agreement or a minority or even a sliver?
If we were in like the SE Discord, I think we'd have like a 99% agreement. If we were out in public, we might get a 65% agreement.
Fascinating. Okay. So within the SE community, we would much more strongly agree.
I think so.
Cool. Is this a claim about human psychology?
It involves that a lot. Yeah.
It's a human behavior claim. Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Have you observed the thing that you are talking about in human behavior personally, or is this anecdotal?
Are those the same? I almost think those are the same thing.
If you were to tell me, it would be an anecdote, but I guess it would be a secondhand anecdote. Is this a firsthand or a secondhand story?
It's a firsthand.
Firsthand story. Excellent. And did this story impact your life much? Did it change the way you thought about things?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Excellent. What confidence do you have that you're attributing the behavior to the reasoning chain? I'm assuming in there that you're saying that a person does a thing because of a thing. And is it possible that you have the because wrong, but the thing still happens for broken clock reasons or something else?
I don't think so. I think I got it right.
Okay, so you have a high confidence in your attribution. What could lead you to higher confidence that the because is the right because?
I guess if I were to read, if there was more studies, maybe a meta study, that could definitely raise my confidence.
Okay, so if there was some sort of a study on this behavior that was actually testing the because, perhaps interventionally, perhaps by other means, so that would give you a lot more than your personal anecdote. Yeah, that would sure raise my confidence. That's excellent. What could lower your confidence?
If
Not that the behavior is happening, but that your attribution on the behavior was correct.
Sure. If there was a study, like I said, indicating the opposite. Otherwise, perhaps if there was like a consensus among experts that that it was something else was going on, there was a different reason.
Yeah. So I like what Matt asked earlier. It was earlier in this conversation. Somebody asked, do you want this to be true?
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess.
Thank you for the
Yeah.
conversation. I enjoyed it.
Okay, cool. Would you do you care to know what we're talking about?
I give up the question roll, and I invite you to speak liberally and openly about whatever you like to say. This was fascinating. I really enjoyed that.
What about Chase and Matt? Are you guys interested in knowing what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. It was that how do I even word this? I mean, I know what it is. Like when people use just kind of shitty and abusive and mocking language to one another when they're trying to bring a point across, trying to make their point be heard and make them convince somebody else that what they're saying is true, that the other person usually is not very receptive of that. And typically their confidence is not going to shift. And sometimes it actually will have the opposite effect.
Here. Preach it.
And now you know why I said that most people in the SE community would probably agree.
I've been thinking about something myself of I don't know how to formulate it into a claim yet, so you guys might be able to help me. And all three, you can jump on me if you want. We ain't got no hands up in the audience, but in the audience, think about a claim you might want to make, some kind of political or religious claim or a claim about veganism or against veganism or whatever. Something you believe is true, ideally, but something I've been thinking about is, like, I understand what Pierce just said, and I agree with what Pierce just said, but at the same time, like, I find, and like I think this will resonate with a lot of activists, is that we, you know, we don't even need to yell at people for them to get needlessly defensive, and that's not our fault. They are getting unjustifiably defensive because they don't want to face the truth sometimes. Now, sometimes it is the truth that the activists could cushion it a little better, cushion the message a little better so that it's more, easily received and stuff. But we often make great strides to do so, and people make fun of us. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times, we will then come out guns a-blazing, or we just come out guns a-blazing to begin with, because it's like people are going to make fun of us no matter what we do. So, we might as well make our fucking points like we mean it. So it can get tricky. But I guess I feel like I probably said what I needed to say. But I don't know how to sum that up into a claim. Maybe just that people often blame activists instead of themselves for their defensive reaction.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. Blame about reaction is a tricky, silly thing.
And I understand it's a natural thing that happens. Like, it can happen to me, but like, I think the goal should be to, if we're in pursuit of truth and justice, to be all open ears to hear it, even if it comes through a megaphone or even if it comes through a yell or something. And I think if we are open to truth and justice, then we will be the ones to de-escalate that situation when someone is maybe being too aggressive, preaching truth and justice at us. We might be like, I actually agree with you. I fucking agree with you. There you go. You know what I mean? That's all you got to do is just change your position on the moral on the moral subject at hand. But easier said than done sometimes, I guess. But like, I don't know if y'all want to pry in.
I'm wondering if you had to pick between SE and maybe some more aggressive activism, which do you think would be would yield the best results
Something else.
in general?
Yeah, in general,
Something else.
something else. Yeah, I don't think that street epistemology is the most effective form of activism for veganism, at least, or maybe anything entirely. But I love street epistemology. But like my only real problem with it, I think, is and maybe this isn't a justified problem, but it, like if we're talking, if I'm interviewing, okay, if I'm in a conversation with somebody and it's something that I really care about, like animal cruelty, right? Then like I find SE like doesn't fulfill me, doesn't like, because I need to, like, I have a lot of facts and figures and video evidence of slaughterhouses and stuff, and I need to show that to people, because there's such urgency in the situation because the victims are screaming in pain and terror that people really need to realize how serious this is and not brush it off like it's not that big of a deal. And so I need to help them realize that urgency, because if it was happening to you, you wouldn't be okay with people taking their time on this, you know what I mean? But on the other hand, as activists, we do have to be patient to some degree. It can depend on which form of activism we're doing. If you're doing a protest, that's when you scream the loudest. That's your time to shine with the screaming, right? And if you're in a debate, I think it's, I love debate, and I think that's probably where I find my comfort area, like in addition to protest. But like I have trouble running street epistemology on a claim that I care deeply about, because I don't want them to walk away. Like, to walk away without necessary resources and ideas that I put in their head that are proper ideas about how to see this clearly. Because one of the good things about street epistemology is that it can help inspire reflection in the moment and later on. People can, you leave with a good taste in your mouth because it wasn't a heated debate or an argument like that. You just got to explain your position on something, and then you go on and you keep thinking about it for the rest of the day. And you're like, you think about it in a positive way because the person wasn't a jerk to you and all. But I can't guarantee that person is going to go do a sufficient amount of research to answer the questions that were unanswered in that SE session, that would have otherwise in a debate format would have been answered by me. You better bet your ass. You know what I mean?
I wonder if the person, if they don't actually go and investigate it themselves, whether there's a good chance they will, accept what you say as evidence, or what you show them as evidence.
That's a great question, or potential problem there. But I find that the more education that's out there, the better. The hiding the truth from, and I'm not trying to accuse SE of hiding the truth from people, but it's just SE is, street epistemology is so concerned with rapport building that it might be like too afraid of any kind of controversy, or anything that might impact that, and so I think that the more seeds that get planted from me and other people about the same issue, the more it helps people get ready to understand it, to really, get those defenses low, because now they're more used to hearing it. And so it doesn't come as such a shock. And so they might not accept it when I say it to them right here and now. And maybe if they did go and do their own research without my input so much, maybe it would be more impacting. But again, I can't guarantee that they're going to do that. And I think it's better for me to just shout this shit from the rooftops so that everybody hears it, and hears it every goddamn day, from as many angles and different voices as possible. And that then people will become more receptive as it becomes more of a social norm to speak out against animal cruelty instead of defending it.
Okay. So I think you kind of think it's more valuable to present evidence than it would be to have people question the reliability of the conclusions they've already came to.
Well, I mean,
or at
I
least
think
in
it's
this particular circumstance.
Oh, or I mean, it could be both. Like
Okay.
maybe the best thing would be run street epistemology on them like you normally do, and then ask them, or force upon them, in that still positive rapport way, the best way you can, all the relevant facts and information and stuff to look up that they need to do later on, if you happen to have that on you about that issue. If it's something, if you're an activist for that cause,
Looks like Clincoin wanted to run SE on you. How do you feel about that, Chase?
On what claim?
I'm not sure, but I can bring him up here and we can find out.
We can bring him up and see what happens. It seems like what's his name? Nicholas tried again, but might not have been able to.
Yeah, it doesn't
yeah.
look like it worked.
So what's Clincoin up to? What you thinking?
I was thinking I wanted to help you find your claim, because if it's one thing SE can be good at, it might be helping find claims that we haven't yet found ourselves by asking some critical questions and inviting reflection.
Sure. I mean, add what you want to. Like, I think I found the claim pretty much, unless you think it needs revision.
Oh, no, just would you mind stating your claim to me?
Sure. Yeah, I think the claim we were talking about, right? Or are you talking about a new claim for a new SE session with you and me?
No, I was talking about the claim you were talking about earlier that you've been talking about for the past amount of time.
Yeah, so I think the claim was basically that people often blame activists. People often unjustifiably blame activists for their own instead of themselves for their defensive reaction.
Right. So if I understand your claim correctly, before I ask about whether you want me to engage with it, you're saying there is a misattribution of the cause for the negative reaction in people activists engage with?
I mean, the defensive reaction, well, yeah, maybe that I think the defensive reaction is more of a guilt response, or not. I mean, not necessarily, because a lot of people, they don't feel any guilt about it. They just don't like being confronted about the issue. But they're I'm not sure. The defensiveness is just unjustified, I think, either on logical grounds, because they, either whether they disagree or agree, and it's just a defensive thing, or like, I feel like I'm getting trapped in my own words now.
I was just asking if it was a fair representation of your position. That's all.
Right. I'm trying to figure out exactly. So, you want to ask it again?
Yeah. So you said that people often unjustifiably say blame activists for their own reaction. And then I'm asking you, would you say that is because of a misattribution of their own emotion? Because you seem to be wanting to include like some form of defensiveness when you were talking about it, but you rephrased yourself.
Yeah. So I think like there's a great quote of, like, the first natural response to being woken up is to be annoyed with the person who woke you up, but it's like, if the house is on fire, we got to wake you up, especially if you lit the fire, and then went to sleep, and there's other, like, people in the house, like, we got to get the thing going. So let's see, help me get back on track again.
Yeah. So we were working on claims because we're trying to find a way to define your position. So maybe I should work around the claim to try to help nail it down. Would you be fine with that?
Yeah, one last thing I was thinking before you do that, though, is like, so it could be a guilt response, like the defensiveness that someone feels after an activist speaks the truth, is the defensiveness could come from a guilt that the person feels because they actually do believe what they're doing is wrong, but they don't want to confront it. Or it could be or the defensiveness could come from not guilt, but from just like defensiveness of being called immoral, even though they don't think they're immoral. And maybe a defensiveness about, like, not, this doesn't apply to everybody, but a lot of people who get defensive when activists do stuff, they don't know much about the issue. And so part of the defensiveness is like coming from an ignorance about the issue, but a wanting, it going against their natural predispositions, or their not necessarily natural predispositions, but they're ingrained, they're taught to see things one way, and this activist is saying, no, you got to see it this other way. And that it can be a pain in the ass for somebody to have to realign all their thought process on something. But if it's the thing that should be done, and if we care about realigning our thought processes to be in accordance with reality and truth and justice, then we should be, eager to do that, not defensive.
Okay. I'm struggling to pin this down to like an easy, succinct point, but would you like me to reiterate what you have said so far?
Sure.
Okay. So you're talking about people getting a guilt response whenever they are confronted. And you say that this guilt response can cause them to feel discomfort or get defensive. And that is what I would call dissonance.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance.
About the guilt that they would feel. You're also saying that being called immoral might invoke a certain defensiveness, simply because of them not wanting to be immoral. And the last thing you mentioned was information overload, which is being blasted with a lot of information that, the way I interpreted you, would mean that they would be more skeptical because it's a lot of information. But maybe that's wrong.
I'm not sure about that last part. I'm not sure.
Would you mind elaborating?
I don't know how true on that last part. I must have forgot what I had said, because it didn't sound like what you said about what I said didn't sound familiar, but I might just be misinterpreting.
Yeah. I'm known for processing things and then noting them down with my process, not verbatim. I should do so verbatim.
Okay.
You were talking about the information being given to them, and how this information could be a lot of information. And then you started talking about that being in line with guilt and defensiveness. But I separated that out.
Okay. How did you separate it?
I just separated it as its own concept of the information itself maybe being a part of it. But that is not street epistemology, FYI.
Okay. But yeah, I think that's pretty much a good summation of what I had said.
Okay. So then, would you say that this view you have is often your experience? Like, is it a view that you hold confidence in based on the real world, or is it a view that you ideally think?
Yeah, so there, I took a lot of psychology classes in college and, outside of college, just studying psychology in general. And I remember some of it being in there, but also, yeah, a lot of personal experiences as being an activist or watching other activists and other people just responding negatively. So yeah, a combination, but I can't recall. It's been a while since, like, I didn't come with as much as I would have loved to. This is not a prepared claim so much, just something that's been on my mind recently. But it would be cool to have the list of, like, different kind of psychological uh, labels that would be on here, and have some studies backing up that kind of thing. Because I think it would apply not just to vegan activists. I think, a lot of social movements, the status quo, the people who like the status quo, or yeah, they hate it when you disrupt the status quo, but it's like that status quo is unjust, so it must be disrupted.
Right. You say must be disrupted. I'm going to assume that people are just going to break in and stop me if we're going over any degree of time. I think they should. But when you say that they must be stopped, that's a claim. Is that a claim you wish to talk about?
Yeah, sure. Unless, actually, maybe it might. I've been talking for a while, and it'd probably be cool to get other people. Like Juggling Lessons had something about the SE. I wanted to see what, if we
I want
could
to hear that
dogpile it
too.
on. Yeah, that would be
I'll
cool.
kick myself.
Well, I wasn't saying you got to leave the room or nothing, because I was gonna say you could stay up here and keep asking questions of him. Like join Pierce and Matt in asking questions, because I thought ClinCoin did ask some good questions there, and it didn't get too crazy or heated, even though we're on the opposite side of the thing. So it's cool. But yeah, I thought rapport was good, and ClinCoin did good at summarizing what I had said to make sure we're both on the same page and that he understood where I was going and stuff. I thought that was good, and to help me understand what I was saying. And repeating, what you how the interviewer can repeat back what they've heard is good for everybody. It's good for the person who's doing the interview, because they can know that they're hearing correctly and getting clarity where needed. It can be good for the person who's being interviewed, because they feel respected, because they're like, okay, this person's taking notes of everything I'm saying, either mentally or writing down the notes like a lot of SE guys do. So and it helps the audience, because I was blabbering on there for a while and it's hard to remember everything I said, so like we all get a little clarity in that revision. So
Yeah.
Matt and Juggling Lessons and Pierce, what y'all think?
Was I requested to make the SE related claim?
Well, you could also talk, if anybody has anything to say about what just transpired, and then we can move on, or if you want to move right on, we can do that about Dolly's claim about SE.
How long is the event?
As long as until people get so sick that they leave.
Okay, so we don't have a hard out. Fine. So I leave it to you all. Which way you'd like to go? I think my thing will.
We got a hand up.
Oh, good.
Should we get this person up?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and try and bring that person up.
They just left.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Oh, never mind.
Up the back. Here, we'll see if they want to come on.
Ba-bing.
I invited. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Shamuku. I think. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. But I did invite you up because you had your hand up, but I think you declined it, so that's cool too. You do you.
Cool. So my claim is a little complicated. There's two claims in it that have different confidence. The deeper claim is normalizing critical thinking in discourse is a net benefit to grandchildren. The subclaim is street epistemology is the best tool I'm familiar with for normalizing critical thinking in conversation. I have a much higher confidence in the first part of the claim than the second.
Cool. We're gonna double team this, Matt.
Sure.
Okay. Cool. You said that you had differing confidence levels. You want to share what those are?
Sure. For the critical thinking is a net benefit to grandchildren is 99.6. It's sigma 3. And SE is the best tool that I'm familiar with. To that is about 80%, sigma 1.5.
Okay. Cool.
Which one of these is the subclaim?
The subclaim is that SE is the best tool for this
The best
tap,
one. Okay.
for normalizing critical thinking, discourse, public discourse.
Which one do you want to tackle first?
They're just woven together because if I didn't care that critical thinking was really, really important, I wouldn't care very much about whether SE was the best tool for it.
And if you discovered that SE wasn't the best tool, would that impact your other confidence?
Probably not, unless it somehow became entwined with something that disproved my confidence on the critical thinking claim. That, for example, maybe I found that a third of people who go down the route of critical thinking have chronic depression. Oops, that would be maybe not good for grandchildren. So maybe we'll leave this for the philosophers, and the rest of us should go back to sipping beer. Fine. If assuming that we don't find something like that, I have very high confidence that normalizing critical thinking is good for the lives of the next generation.
And what gets you to such a high confidence level?
It's a cumulative case of observation over the last 100 years, and I guess mostly in my lifetime, but more like a historian kind of thing. One data point would be like something like 3 IQ points per decade improvement, and that's mostly because our language is getting better at STEM subjects. STEM subjects are more normalized, so we are able to speak in these terms, and we do these transforms and these science and technology kinds of parts of the test better. And that probably doesn't actually mean we're getting smarter. It means we're getting exposed to something more useful that trains us better. So that's an example where that makes people's lives better. If IQ is an approximation for having some advantage, then yes.
Does having a higher IQ necessarily improve someone's life?
All else being equal, IQ is the rate at which you can learn and put into practice. So yes, if you can learn faster, then you maybe have to spend less time learning and more time doing. Or maybe you learn better farther and do easier, smarter, because you figured it out.
Okay.
So yeah, I think intelligence is helpful if you're baking cookies. Now, maybe eventually it doesn't matter very much. After your 100th batch of cookies, it won't matter very much how fast you learned. You'll be good. If you got good feedback about your cookies.
Could you imagine a future where intelligence wouldn't be very valuable?
Yeah, if it becomes automated. If my phone thinks better than I do and I allow it to lead me through my life, well, I might be fine. It's not going to put me at a disadvantage. It lessens the advantage that the intelligence brings me in my current decade. But that doesn't mean that it's zero advantage still. It might be that I can just pay attention to new kinds of things where my intelligence is still special. And hopefully the next generation will specialize in that.
What makes you think that SE is the best tool for normalizing critical thinking?
I see the impact on a lot of the people that come in. Obviously, it's a biased sample because I see the people that stay in long enough. But I see the impact that it has in their own outlook from wherever they're coming in, and it improves their lives. It improves their thinking. It improves all sorts of things. So I have a big pile of anecdotal evidence. Also, lots of first-person testing. I have a very, very high success rate at having a positive rapport conversation with a stranger. And wow,
You
if I
think
can
it,
have a rapport and and have some impact, likely, well, that's a win.
how have you determined if you'd have had an impact on, I guess, is it teaching them critical thinking, if I understand correctly?
Well, if I'm doing an SE conversation like out in public, it's not so much teaching them, although it's a demonstration. So it's the demonstration part of teaching. Um, and I'm not being teacherly or didactic with them.
Mhm.
I'm just demonstrating the recipe.
Yeah.
In a practice, I will speak more to what's on the blackboard, and now I'm going to do this step and so on,
Mhm.
because that's easier for people who are following a recipe. if everybody's familiar with it. But with a stranger, that's distracting. So how do you ask? How do I tell if I had a positive rapport, or how do I tell if I had an impact?
Yeah. How do you tell if you had an impact?
I'm looking for some things like inspiring reflection, or having them report that they're thinking about a thing in a new way or a different way. If they think of a new thing, that means I've had an impact. Critical thinking has had some result. Doesn't matter if that result is in my favor. That's irrelevant. It's only that they have moved. Now, it doesn't mean that they necessarily moved in their confidence. It might be that they redefine the claim. But it's any small baby step that shows critical thinking having a positive predictive result. But I'm an easy grader. That was the very long-winded answer to what gives me confidence that SE works really well.
What could you learn that? What?
I was just gonna say, juggling lessons. Do you think that other people will have an easy time, or as easy of a time as you have had, at learning and employing street epistemology?
I got really, really lucky. Reed was my mentor, Reed Nicewander. So I got top flight training. So easy for other people. Yeah, I got shown the best curriculum, the best examples. If we can give people the quality of examples and guidance that I got, yes, I think other people can learn it just as easily as I did. I did come in with a few skills before I did SE, and those are separately gained.
Well, now might be a good time to recommend some different YouTube channels about street epistemology. In fact, there's a YouTube channel called Street Epistemology. There's also a YouTube channel called Juggling Lessons, but sometimes it'll take you to like people who are trying to juggle. So instead, you have to type in Juggling Lessons Street Epistemology into YouTube, or maybe it's in the chat there. We're posting it in the chat. There's also a YouTube channel with Mr. Matt's name on it. What's it called?
Mighty Conversations.
Mighty Conversations on the old YouTube. And there's a YouTube for your old buddy Chase right here. So another one is called Cordial Curiosity. That's what we were talking about a second ago. Juggling Lessons mentor, Reed, has a great street epistemology channel called Cordial Curiosity. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff out there. There's another one, Sound Epistemology.
David.
Yeah.
He does great.
Sorry, I'm just munching down on this here Cliff Bar.
We got a hand up.
Protein. I got get
Uncle
somebody
Nick.
up on the stage.
Got
Uncle
him.
Nick.
Hey, what's good? What's up, everybody?
What's up, buddy?
Oh,
I just want to thank you guys. You guys have been doing a really great job. So, you guys, I enjoy SE very, very, very much. I am actually familiar with almost all of your guys' channels, except for Chase. I don't know who that guy is. Just kidding. So my claim is, my claim is that the social gospel offers a compelling framework for Christians to actively engage in addressing societal issues and promoting a more just, compassionate society.
Whoa.
Are you guys familiar with like what the social gospel is?
No. So that we'll need some clarity on that term, but I'm looking forward to this. Do you mind if Or does anybody want to jump on him, or do the three of you juggling lessons, Matt, Pierce, y'all want to get him? I think it's
I'm open to
cool.
whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's cool when you all kind of do it together, just to see what different kinds of questions and personalities get out there. So long as Nick is cool with it.
Yeah, no worries. I'm down for whatever.
Okay, cool.
So, I guess like the distinction would be the social gospel and the personal salvation gospel. The social gospel emphasizes addressing social issues and advocating for justice in society, while the personal salvation gospel places a primary focus on individual spiritual salvation and their personal relationship with God.
So,
maybe you guys.
Yeah. So let me ask you, the social gospel you said, right? Is that a part of Christianity? Is that what you're saying, or like a type of Christianity?
Yeah, it's a Christian movement that started in the 19th century, I believe. It's sometimes people might confuse it with like Christian socialism, but they started around the same time, advocate for some of the same things.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, I think in my experience, I have seen some Christians that talk about how like the main message of the Christianity is that personal salvation is one of the things you mentioned of, the personal connection with God, and how you gonna, get saved and all. And then the other type of Christians that I've encountered are talking like what you were saying, are talking about how, Jesus did such good works, and the reason he did that was he's trying to teach us lessons about how we need to follow Christ's example and help the poor and needy and that kind of thing. And that maybe even through that is the real message of the gospels, is what you were saying, right?
Yeah, I think that's like a good representation, kind of a little bit more specifically, like it emphasizes I have some of this written down. So it emphasizes the responsibility of Christians to actively engage in efforts to improve the conditions of the less fortunate, advocate for like structural changes in society.
Okay. So what exactly was the claim again? I want to make sure we're all on the same page. As succinct as possible, if you can.
So I think the social gospel offers a compelling framework for Christians to engage in addressing social issues and promoting a more just society.
Okay, cool. Okay, anybody else got questions on this?
Is the social gospel the best way?
I don't know if it's the best way. But I think that compared to only like an individual gospel, this provides like a much better outcome for society than just a individual gospel like belief, I guess.
Okay, so there might be other ways to promote justice, as you said, and other issues, but this is just one of them.
Yeah, I think it is. It would be just one of them. I think maybe even more specifically within a Christian worldview or like a Christian framework. This, to my understanding, this would probably be the most effective.
Okay, the most effective. Okay. Can we kind of like revise your claim to include most effective? We can talk about it in that sense.
So the social gospel offers the most effective framework for Christians to engage in addressing social issues. Would that be the correct way?
Perfect. And why do you think this is the case?
I think it's the case because it doesn't force people that believe in a God or believe in like the Christian God to reject their Christian teachings. I think it kind of inspires them to look further into Christian teachings and to like the kind of outcomes that are prescribed in the Bible, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So like, okay, so I guess I'll make it a little bit, let's see if it makes it more or less clear, but I think it gives Christians a better framework to engage in social issues that are like important to majority of people, that are like important to society, without giving up their Christian worldview as like a whole.
Okay.
So like for example, right, like let's just call them like average Christian would be against abortion for like a theological reason, and advocate and even like vote against abortion, while someone under the social gospel framework may still have like personal feelings against it, but they can understand that on a societal basis how it can be good.
I see what you're saying.
I think it's more about like not taking away the Christian framework that someone has, but adding like and it like a good lens to it. I guess the good is like subjective, but like a useful lens to it, effective lens to it.
What I'm still trying to kind of clarify a little bit here. What happens if someone discovers something that contradicts like the Christian worldview or their particular Christian worldview? What happens?
Then I mean, they would be left to reevaluate what they value about the Christian worldview. But let's say that they are convinced that like a God doesn't exist anymore. Well, if they have that social gospel framework, they would still be able to engage and actively engage like in those, I guess, engage in those things, but they don't. Them not having a Christian worldview wouldn't like destroy that completely, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You can tell me if I didn't answer your question, and I'll try to ask it again, or rather state it again.
You definitely answered it. No worries there. Perhaps I'm having a little bit of difficulty understanding. I'm not sure how to ask for clarification. Is the social gospel intertwined with Christianity, or is it separate? I'm having a difficulty time. I guess what can you
Maybe I can ask a question about the social gospel. Does it include Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a way of reading the New Testament that focuses less on the personal salvation and more on the social aspects.
Right, like the teachings of Christ that emphasize love for one another, caring for marginalized, and seeking justice. Correct.
Very good. Is it the same version of the Bible? And are there books that would, if I wanted to say, what are the books that would allow me to see it? Do I need the Bible and some commentary books?
Yeah, you would. Well, I guess you could come to the conclusion on your own, because I assume that the commentary, the people that made commentary on it, they didn't have any references. It's something that they came up with on their own.
Cool. It allows me to understand what you mean when you say the social gospel. It's a particular interpretation. So how widespread is this position in Christianity? I've not heard of this so clearly stated before. I've heard things that lean in that direction.
Yeah, it's almost non-existent nowadays, because maybe you guys are familiar with the within the 1920s there was the modernist versus I forget the word. I think it's like humanitarian split in theology. And after that, a lot of people abandoned it. It's the like fundamental versus like liberal theology split in the 1920s. And as the liberal gospel became less and less popular, and like fundamental, the gospel became more and more popular, it kind of became eradicated. It's basically non-existent in this day in practice.
Oh, well, darn. Seems like maybe they were onto something.
Yeah, there are still a few. There are like a few churches around that do promote like aspects of the social gospel, but none that are, for example, like the American Baptist Church, which is different from like the fundamental independent Baptist Church.
Yeah.
And also the Unitarian Church of Christ. That's another one. That also pushes for it. Yep.
It sounds like the social gospel is more than just your typical gospel interpretation plus charity work. The social gospel is more than that, right? It's more than doing just charity work on the side. It's more that is the main gist of the point of the gospels, is to not be so focused on you and your salvation, but on helping others in need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But you can still believe in like the, personal gospel or like the personal saving of your own soul, but it's not something that's exclusive. This is something that would be on top of it. Other names for it was like the gospel of the kingdom, or like kingdom theology. I mentioned Christian socialism earlier, and then liberation theology is probably the closest thing we have to it now in the modern day.
If you don't mind, let's we've been kind of clarifying the claim. I think we're all on the same page now, hopefully. So let's move on to the reasons, and we'll examine the reasons. So you said social gospel offers the most effective strategy, I guess, maybe for addressing social issues. And I guess what is the biggest reason that you believe that this is the case?
Could you repeat the first part of that question? I didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I guess
I just wanted to make sure, like, because I'm a little unclear. Is it for Christians this is the social gospel is the best thing to help make a just world, or is it
yes, for Christians,
right? Because you're not saying that a non-Christian or even Islamic worldview or whatever would be better, or
I mean, if you have, I guess it depends. If you have a moral system that like where it's important for you to like follow, read, and understand like just leaders throughout society and people that have tried to make a better place, maybe I think they're called like moral exemplars. If those type of individuals are important to you, this could be something that as like a non-Christian you could see and adapt to your own worldview, but it doesn't require any type of belief in the supernatural or souls or anything like that.
And do you think that it's possible that a secular worldview that is focused on justice is it possible that is as good as or even better than the social gospel? Secularism compete?
I think it depends on who you're. Are you saying just like having these two things, like which one would be better for society if we could only have one? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, kind of, I guess, if that's okay. Pierce,
or which one would be more effective?
I'm gonna have to lean. I'm gonna have to lean social gospel, as I don't. At least in America, we have the highest percentage wise of people that vote in elections are white evangelical Christians. So I think if they're, I think if I think that if they were to abandon their faith, which I find probably even least likely than them
Okay.
accepting a social justice worldview, I think that social gospel worldview, that the social gospel worldview would be more effective. Was that the framework? Or
Okay,
better?
so it sounds like you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the it's more likely that the Christians who make up the majority of the voter population in America, that it's more likely that they would become like progressive Christians who care about social justice kind of issues. It's more likely that that would happen than it is that they would leave their Christianity entirely and adopt a secular
Right.
type of humanitarianism.
Right, because I don't see secular and liberal as a synonym. Just because you're secular doesn't automatically mean you're going to be liberal minded.
Right, right. I understand.
If let's say there was I'm gonna put out a hypothetical here. Let's
Sure.
say there was half the population was secular, the other half was Christian, evangelical, whatever. Doesn't matter. And half of the secular people were using some sort of secular strategy, let's say whatever strategy they're using. And the other half was using the social gospel. And which group do you think would have more effectiveness overall?
Effectiveness as pertaining to what?
To social issues, addressing social issues.
My now again, it's kind of easy for me to say that there would be equal because it doesn't really exist as a movement, so we can't really compare its actions to the actions of like a secular world. But I think that the outcomes would be equal if that's what you're asking.
Okay, interesting. To me, it sounds like that might contradict your claim that social
That it's
gospel.
better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess, can you explain?
I guess the only difference would be that you would have to you would have to like change the like completely radically shift the worldview of these Christians, and I don't deny that America is becoming less and less religious. I do like see in the future that Christians being a type of minority, but I think as of now, while Christians still hold the majority of power, that basically all senators and Congress people are professing Christianity. Um, that seems to be like the most effective way to kind of say like, hey, this is what you should be doing as according to this gospel, and you should getting people to agree with it.
Do you see any correlation or causation or with um the rise of progressive movements in American society, and the decrease of religion in that same society? Like there's a lot of people, and I might not be doing SE well right now,
No,
but it seems.
I hear what you're saying, but
Go
I
ahead.
think a lot of I don't think it has much. Maybe it has some to do with liberal values. Maybe this is getting a little off topic, but I think like the recorded some of the largest reasons for leaving church or not going to church or things like church hurt or like a scene hypocrisy like in the church, and of course besides like not believing just outright like not having faith anymore. But
And I think
uh,
some other reasons were career and college,
yeah,
make
like
it so that
edu-
attendance at church can drop because of that.
right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Anybody else got questions?
Well, just really quick to go back to if there's like some type of correlation between the rise of liberal or like progressivism in the US and the fall, like, you know, the fall of Christianity. I don't think that those things have to be like one for one, like for every Christian we lose, like one liberal must be gained. I think, or, you know, one progressive will be gained. I think, like, again, with this, like with the social gospel, we can have a way where we have progressive politics that make life better for everyone in the United States, without having to like mass deconvert people, or having, you know, people think they need to deconvert. I see a lot of head nodding, but especially from you, Matt, you kind of been nodding your head along. I'm curious what you think.
I really enjoyed the sort of path we went down. I don't. Pierce a while ago said, "Let's get to the reasons," and I thought, "All right, like we're on our way." But it is important. I think sometimes 90% of a SE conversation is just getting definitions down. So I think that getting that clarification out was really important. But if you wanted to go to the reasons quick, we could do that. Get your confidence and then move on from there.
So I guess like my main reason why it would be the like most effective for Christians is that the principles and the ideas of the social gospel it continues to resonate with modern day Christian and social activists who want to address problems and make like a more compassionate society or just society.
Okay, so you observe Christians behaving more compassionately or in a way that leads to a more just society when they utilize the social gospel as
Correct.
opposed to something else.
Correct.
Okay. Can I get an idea of your confidence of do you have a high confidence that this is true?
Yeah, I'd
Somewhere in the
probably
middle?
put it at like 9.9 out of 10.
Okay.
But I think in having this conversation, I see that I need to develop my reasoning a bit, like to be a bit stronger, to make a stronger case for it. Definitely.
Well, we don't have to take up any more time.
Yeah.
If
So-
we just hit the inspire reflection part.
Yeah, boom.
Yeah, because I've already been up here for 10 minutes, and it kind of dawned on me a few minutes ago that that's something I need to work on a bit more here.
I think that's a
But,
perfect place to stop then. If you're thinking about your claim and the quality of the reasons, boom, that's good.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Well,
I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for your help.
Feedback on
Thank
the
you.
essay. There is a time schedule thing. 90% of that is on the interviewer, not the interviewee. The interviewee should not have very much on their mind other than saying their thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Last time we had put a little 10-minute on there because we had a lot of people in the audience that were wanting to talk, you know, and that kind of thing. But but yeah, good job everybody asking questions. And good job, Nick. Thanks for coming up. I think some of those people who had their hands up might have been trolls. So always be ready to kick them off the stage. But tortoise
right.
milk,
Wait,
that
wait,
doesn't sound good.
Wait, I'm a troll? Nah.
I don't know if you. I don't know. You got to prove yourself. What's up, tortoise milk?
All right. So I had this idea, right? So, you know how like, I know the vegan server, right? So I was doing my little research, while playing Krunker.io. Anyway, so I was like, so when they cut down lots of fields and take away animals' homes to plant like soybeans and corn and crap for like vegan burgers or whatever, like doesn't that kill a lot more animal lives than just like one cow or like one chicken?
Okay, Well, that's a great question, and I could definitely answer it as a vegan activist, but I'm not gonna because we're doing street epistemology.
Oh,
But
we
maybe
are?
what we could do, yeah, but sorry, you might have joined late, but yeah, we're doing this certain thing, and you can stay up on here though. We might be able to turn your question into a claim, and then we can interview you where we just ask questions about your claim to see what you believe, why you believe it, and if you have good reasons for believing it. So basically, if your question is like, we could basically maybe turn it into a claim like, vegans also kill animals, or maybe um, it could be more animals are killed by vegans than by eating one cow or something like this. I don't know if that sounds interesting to you, Tortoise Milk, if you want to do something like that, and then we'll just ask you questions about it.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Let's try that. And then if you want after that conversation, maybe then I can give you answers as a vegan activist to actually answer that specific question for you. Does that sound good? All right, cool. So like
All right.
so Matt and Juggling Lessons and Pierce, let's do the thing.
What
Okay.
is this thing in question?
Street epistemology. So it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
Yeah.
it's just where we're just gonna ask you some questions,
All
and
right.
it will be some probing questions about your
All right.
epistemology.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
about
I was in
okay.
a program at school that specialized in probing questions.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's for
Uh
suicide awareness.
oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I saved absolutely nobody because there were no cases in our school. But anyway, okay, yeah, continue.
Okay. So well, I guess what is your confidence levels, or what is your claim actually? I guess let's clarify that. So maybe based off what your question you asked, do you think it's the case that planting like vegan foods like I don't know, soy and stuff like
And
that?
like chickpeas and
Hmm.
stuff that goes into the thing, yeah.
Yeah, like that might harm animals more than
Yeah,
like.
yeah, because when you plant all this soy, right? You know, bugs and like deer
Mhm.
and rabbits and raccoons or whatever tiny fuzzy creature, they're gonna come over there. They're gonna be like, "Ooh, free soy! Geez, I gotta get in on some of this."
Mhm.
Free. It's not gonna be around forever, right? Because that's how
Okay.
animals think,
Yeah.
or so I assume. I watched like one documentary on National Geographic. So anyway, um, so right, they're gonna be all like, um they're gonna be like, oh, this is nice, but like farmers, they're like, hey, stop eating my soy. We need this. We need to make money off of this. But then the pesticides in the soy and stuff, right? I know it's not harmful to humans, right? But that it can kill bugs, and bugs are still life too, right? I mean, not that I care about bugs. There's a spider on my window, just you know, but like that kills a lot of bugs, and then these pesticides, right? And the mass farming can destroy animals' homes, right? Like gophers or whatever, they live in the ground.
Gotcha.
You plant over their entire place. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Imagine someone went over to your house, bulldozed all over it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And do you believe that this is worse than like eating cows and pigs, or is it
I mean,
equivalent, or
so I think in a sense it's equivalent, but at the same time it's worse because like
okay?
you're killing gophers, hares, destroying deer's homes, all of this, owls and friggin' I
Gotcha.
don't know, raccoons and shit, right?
Okay.
Um, but then you kill one cow. One life is one life, as Pac-Man has taught me. So, you know what I'm saying? One life is one life, right?
Gotcha.
And like you're destroying all these deer's homes, gophers, like a lot of animals that die in the process of getting the soy, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
I think I got. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think I
yeah,
understand
yeah,
your claim here. Yeah. How
yeah.
confident are you that this is either equivalent or worse?
I'm pretty confident that it's worse because like you're killing a lot more than just like one cow.
Okay.
And plus if you only buy meats and meat products and dairy from places where they're like free range, grass fed, they have a nice little life,
Okay.
Oh crap, my friend's calling me. I'm gonna just dismiss that. But right, so you're killing a lot of or no, you're not. Hold on. Damn, stop calling me, you absolute weirdo. Damn, okay. I'm back. So right, if you're getting like stuff from I see one comment from like local farms, right? Like let's say you're getting lots of stuff from like local farms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're treating animals very good. Like I know that the I think as Muslims they eat only halal meat, and that's like they treat the animals as best as they can before they die to become meat and food like that. They treat them as well as they possibly can, right? You know what I'm saying? They give them
Okay.
the best life, right?
Okay.
And I think that and especially killing them in a humane way, okay? Mass farming, they don't really kill them in a humane way. Sure, they kill them quickly, but it's not humane. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Keeping them in these cages, mass farms, you know what I'm saying? And if
Mhm.
I know that it's more expensive. I'm a child. I don't got that sense of money, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But like, if you really, um, I know that's more money, but like, even if you buy it, right? Even if you just eat meat a couple times a week, you know what I'm saying? To the point where you're not like eating it every single day. Just buy it like once or twice a week. Which I mean, like once or twice a week, eating the meat and not getting this like mass produced stuff, then I think that would be better. You know what I'm saying? Because like if you're not buying from these massive companies, right? Then they're gonna have less sales. I know that's like one person. You know what I'm saying? Just one guy.
I think we
Not
might
eating this mass produced meat.
need to refocus here for a moment. We might be drifting
Yeah.
away. Okay. So with
Well, I mean,
regards to the fields with the the almonds and the soy and
yeah.
the chickpeas or whatever, right? Versus like the farms, even the nice farms you were talking about, right?
Yeah, nice
Yeah.
farms.
What could you learn that would change your mind from like thinking that the fields are worse and that the farm is better?
I mean, because look, these fields, they're like planted over acres and acres of stuff, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of ground. I think, personally, to change my mind on that, they should go around, right? And like, check out the areas, make sure there's no animals there
Okay.
first, right? Make sure there's no
Sure.
animals there. And then you can start planting your almonds and your soy and all that stuff, right? Because if there's
Okay.
no animals there, you're not hurting them. And even then, if there are animals there, you can relocate them to, I don't know, an animal sanctuary or something where they can live out the rest of their life without the fear of possibly dying from industrial farming.
If you were to learn
Ow,
that
I cut my finger. Damn.
oh,
That's fine.
if you were to learn that this was already being done, that farmers were only either planting where there's no animals, or if they were relocating them, or stuff like that. If you were to learn that that was the case, would you think that the fields with all the the plants was better than the farms?
Okay, but here's where I'm gonna stop you real quick right there. Is like here's the thing. Farmers, a lot of them don't really care. Okay,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was just
They
asking
get
hypothetically.
their money. They sell their soy or whatever, good day's work, blah blah blah, to sleep on a hay bale. Um, that I don't know. I mean, I know that some of them are doing it, but it's not a
Mhm.
lot of them. It's just like a select few, and it's usually those companies that make those like grass-fed, free-range, nice pasteurized eggs that I find at Target.
If you were to learn that the practices that to grow the plants, the almonds, whatever. If you were to learn that that practice doesn't actually harm a whole lot of animals, let's say for 10 almond trees, it's like just one chipmunk or two. What do you think?
That's still 2 lives compared to 1 cow. And if Miss Gamboa from kindergarten taught me correctly, 2 is more than 1.
I'm wondering if like 10 almond trees are equivalent to 1 cow, or is 10 almond trees equivalent to like 100 cows? How could we figure that out?
I mean, here, you could look at the statistics. I'm not going to, because I don't got that kind of time. I gotta go to school tomorrow. By school, I mean I am not going to school. Summer break. Woohoo! Okay, but anyway. So look. So you're taking away these animals' homes, right? Right. You're taking away their homes, planting the soy, almond trees, blah blah, chickpeas. Okay, right? And then, like you said, if that kills 1 or 2 chipmunks, that is 10 or 20 or like some number in between chipmunks dead. Okay, that's more than 1 cow.
Okay.
And last time I checked, chipmunks are cuter than cows. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
So I'm
sure many people-
very very uninformed about how plants, how these things work, where almonds come from, where soybeans come from. I'm being genuinely honest. I don't know much about it.
I think soybeans come from like soy leaves or something.
Yeah, well, I know that, but like how they're planted and what the process is. How could I learn? What could I do to learn, like how that goes, and if there are animals that are being kicked off of where they live for these plants to be planted, how could I determine what exactly is going on?
I mean, you could like search it up on Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
YouTube, like Bing, if that's more your speed.
Okay. You think that would be the best way to figure it out?
I mean, you could go on National Geographic or something.
Okay. That might be a good way.
Check
Okay.
multiple sources. If multiple sources are saying the same thing, most likely it's true. If like one of them is saying something completely different from the other ones, check to see if other ones are saying that. Then make an educated guess. Then you'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone really wanted to know what was true, that would be probably the route to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that what you have done?
No, me personally, I don't got that kind of time.
Okay.
But I'm sure you could find something like that.
So if this was something that was really important to you, that would be the way that you would go, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Here, let me look it up right now. Okay. Does planting almonds? How the hell do I spell almond? It's
ALMONDS.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Does planting almonds and soy and random
All right, that's pretty much all I got.
vegan stuff
I think you did a good job.
hurt hold on, man, stop laughing. That's mean.
No, he's not.
No,
He's
you're
laughing
doing
at me.
good.
No, that's
Okay.
Pierce. I'm surprised he spelled almonds correctly. First of all, that's
More
fantastic.
Vegan
Come on, man.
hurt more animals than murdering 1 cow for a Big Mac. Okay.
You got Chat GPT on there or what?
No, I got Surge Activism, https://www.surgeactivism.com. Debunked.
check it out.
Do vegans kill more animals through crop deaths? Okay, here, let me share my screen. Everyone needs to get an eye full of this. Oh no, I can't stream onto this.
That's
Can I?
okay. You can just tell us, just read it to us real quick. Just read
Okay.
us a little bit.
Okay. Ted Nugent from South Africa says that here, hold on. Those who follow a vegan lifestyle are responsible for more animal deaths through the harvesting of crop and use of fertilizers and pesticides than people who consume animals directly. We do see this quite often, and it's about time we take a good look at the argument being made: are animals being killed, blah blah, especially soy. All of the crops to choose, in fact, around 75 to 80% of the soy that is produced is used as farmed animal feed. Only 6% is actually used for human consumption. Therefore, if you are upset about animals being killed soy farming, then stop funding the industries that use 3/4 of all the soy that is grown. Nugent is not the only one who has made this argument. Ken Creaser, stupid name.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's good. That's good for now. That's good for now. But thank you. That was good reading and everything. I'm gonna
Thank you.
post a link for you here.
Can I ask
tagging
one
you
last
in the-
question? Can I do one last thing?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So-
Sorry, go ahead.
So, a turquoise here. So you found a article that states a claim, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it's wrong. It could be correct. I personally don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. If I were to go on Google and search up for an article, and I found an article that said like the exact opposite, that was claiming that vegans actually kill a lot less life than meat eaters. How could we determine which article was being truthful?
I mean, me personally, you could number one check more websites to see which one says one or the other, and if you find a majority that
Okay.
say one or over the other, then you could reasonably assume that that one is correct.
Is the majority of the articles always going to be the ones that are correct?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. I was reading something.
Oh, sorry. Is like if you search and you find like the majority of articles say that this is true, X is true.
Yeah.
Does that necessarily mean that X is true? Is that the most reliable way to figure that
Well, I
out?
mean, are you gonna go out to an almond farm and sit there for a year and count the statistics? No, I don't think so. You don't got that kind of time on your hands. Neither do I.
Sure.
So looking on Google is probably one of the most reasonable ways.
But I guess, like, let's say I do a Google search and I were to find 1,000 articles that say that the Earth is flat, and I was only able to find 800 that said the Earth was round. Can I reasonably assume that the Earth is flat then?
Okay, here, hold on. If I can tell, your head is quite large, and if that means anything, that means that you have a brain in there, right? Now, just because you walk on the Earth and it's flat doesn't mean it's necessarily flat.
Mhm.
Like look at this, look at this, look at this. When you go to the beach, I don't know if you go to the beach, but still, when you go to the beach, you see the horizon, right? You're looking and you see the Earth curve a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then that would probably mean that the Earth is round. The Earth is not flat. We have disproven that for many years. Okay, I think it was like the Greeks or the Romans or something.
I hear
One of
you.
those important ones. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So,
I think,
oh, guess what?
maybe
Oh yeah. Also,
I think maybe what
can we invite Goofy Krill to the stage, please?
Maybe
We will in a
later, but
moment.
let's just focus on this. We're almost done with you for now. But I think Matt wanted to jump in real quick.
Yeah, I think what Pierce was asking was something more like, is there anything about the number of studies that relates to the truth of the matter? So if we had more studies that in number, if we had 1,000 studies that said vegans kill less animals, and we only had 800 studies that said meat eaters kill less animals, is there anything about the number of those studies that would tell us whether or not one of the claims is true?
Okay, now, again, like I said, because if you were listening, you could recall that I said you can take an educated guess, right? right? So taking an educated guess, right? Okay, you check the data, right? I think this is the process for making a spreadsheet or something. I don't know. I didn't pay attention in 6th grade math class. Um, so then technically, like you find the data, okay? You find the median or something, and then like it's not about finding what you think could possibly be the answer. Ask other people if they think is the right answer. And then
Okay.
if a majority thinks it is, then I mean it's probably the right answer.
Can I ask, like, what if we had 10 websites saying one thing and then 8 websites saying the opposite thing, but what if some of the websites are more credible than the other websites? Like, what if the 8 websites are really credible, really good sources, but there's only 8 of them, but then you've got 10 bad sources over here? Is 10
Then
bad sources better than 8 good sources?
no, quality over quantity any day. Because look at this, right? So if these credible websites, I don't know, like freaking ABC or I don't know, freaking CNN or whatever, if they're saying something, it's most likely true. They've been correct about lots of things. You can check the statistics. I'm not going to. You can. And then you find here that they're correct on a lot of things. Then these 10 uncredible websites, right? You could check their information on a credible website, and then if that's true, then you can assume that maybe it's not well known, but you find that what they're saying is true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back, no, I just for clarity, I don't believe the Earth is flat. Just FYI, this is just an
Yeah.
example.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
listening to what you
I
were
knew it was
saying,
hard to that.
I'm going to kind of recap what I think you were saying. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. You were saying that even if I was to find, a whole bunch more websites saying the Earth was flat than saying that it's round, you kind of got into it. You were I think what you were saying was like the evidence is actually more important than the articles, if I
Yeah.
was understanding correctly. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Evidence is more important than articles. Articles is letters on a website or a magazine or whatever.
Okay.
Evidence is letters also on a website, a magazine, but it's evidence.
Okay. So going back kind of the farms, you would rather have the evidence rather than the articles, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's all I got.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, great job to everybody who asked questions. And thank you, Tortoise Milk, for bringing a claim up here for us to ask you about. That was very nice of you. And you were pretty nice during most of it. And
I like that guy.
yeah. So I'll say to Tortoise Milk, just to really answer the question, though, like that website was saying, because you did find a good source when you looked up that information about do vegans kill more animals through soy and all that stuff? Like, so I tagged you in the chat. It's still there. I'm gonna post it again. And this is you should read the first page of this document that I made called 100 Vegan Environment Sources. And I'm just gonna read a couple of statistics to you real quick. So according to Yale University, it takes 25 calories of plants to make 1 calorie of beef because the cow has to eat plants for 18 months to get them up to slaughter weight. So 25 times. So the amount of, like, you're right that like there are little bugs and maybe some critters and stuff, little animals that get killed when we make food like soy or rice or whatever. But the cow that's eating the cow that we kill to eat the beef, that cow had to eat 25 times more than the amount of beef they're creating. And so that's like 25 times more or something like that. It's a lot more animals who die in those fields to make the food for the cow than if we just ate that directly. So like the Vegan Beyond Burger creates or uses 93% less land, 93% less land. And then most soy is for animal agriculture, is for that. So 90% of US soybeans are used for animal agriculture as feed for those cows, and that's coming from the American Soy Association. And globally, 77% of global soy is fed to cows for meat and dairy production. So so the idea is like, yeah, vegans, we're not perfect, we know we're not perfect, but we're trying to reduce the amount of suffering that we cause and not cause direct intentional harm if we can avoid it. And hopefully one day we'll have a world where all of our farms are indoor, so that the all the plant farms are inside, so that little bugs and critters can't get inside to get to the plants to eat them. So we won't need pesticides and stuff like that to protect our crops. But in the meantime, we've got to eat something. We don't have to eat animals, but we do have to eat plants in order to be healthy. And by eating plants, we're killing less animals. So there you go. So it looks like we ain't got no hands up, but let me just refresh everybody's memory. And for anybody who's new, what street epistemology is basically not a debate. It's a nice way of having a polite conversation where one person is interviewing another person and just asking questions about what they believe, why they believe it, and if they have good reasons for believing what they believe, or if maybe some of the methods at arriving at that conclusion are not the best, most reliable methods, and maybe there's a better way to come to conclusions. So claims can be something like, any political or religious topic or whatever. It could be about, guns are good, or like gun control is good or gun control is bad. God is real or God is not real, or, veganism is good or veganism is stupid or whatever. But we might wrap it up soon. So I'm thinking, Ghost Gamer, I don't know who you are. Are you a troll? I'm kind of scared of you. You look like a troublemaker. Are you a troublemaker? Come up on this stage. We'll give you a chance.
Invited him because
Really
I
quick.
think he was asking later. Go ahead, man.
I was just going to say, I actually got to take off, so I thought this would be a good break time to say goodbye, everybody, and thanks for having me.
See ya.
Really
All right,
appreciate
thanks,
the
Matt.
opportunity.
Yeah,
Sorry if
we
I took
appreciate
over
you,
too
buddy.
much.
No, not at all. I'm glad you did.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Chase. Thanks,
All right,
Sally.
see you, buddy.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah, so it looks like Ghost Gamer might be having trouble coming up on the stage anyway, so we should probably shut it down. We've been at it for like 3 hours, so that was a good run, no?
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
All right, cool. Well, then let me just remind everybody that you can follow Pierce Watkins on YouTube. Just type in Pierce Watkins Street Epistemology or look for it in the chat. Same thing with my buddy Dolly here, Juggling Lessons on YouTube, Street Epistemology. And just type my name in there. I'm the only Chase Avier on this planet. I made that name up for good reason.
Good.
So anyway, all right. Any final thoughts from Juggling Lessons or Pierce?
Be
Just kind
kind.
of blatantly.
Good.
Yeah, be kind to others. Absolutely, critical thinking is good for grandchildren, so do it. Oh, and my next live stream on Friday is with somebody who's going to talk to me about Sikhism.
Oh, cool.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. I want to watch that.
Cool.
And,
It'll be 10 a.m. Pacific. So I think that's what 2 p.m. No, 1 p.m. Pierce time.
Sounds about maybe noon. I'm not sure.
Either way, you'll see
Something
it on
like
my
that.
channel.
Yeah, I'll find it. And then I'm just gonna
Mhm.
plug the Street Epistemology Discord. If someone who is smarter than me can get a link, that'd be great. And
Yeah, I'll do that.
yeah, we got Street
I'll post
Epistemology practice exactly 1 week from now, minus how many hours have we been going? 3 hours.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah,
Cool.
So if-
I got the link and I'll post. Yeah, so I'll post the link to the Street Epistemology Discord server in the chat here. Oh, it wouldn't let me. I don't know why.
Oh, that some servers have a policy.
You won't
Okay.
like links.
Yeah.
My DMs are open. If anybody wants an invite to the Street Epistemology server, I accept all DMs. Hit me up.
There you go. Okay, cool. All right, well, we're gonna shut it down then. Y'all have a wonderful day, and if I didn't say it already, go vegan, motherfucker.